Hello, everybody, and welcome to the iRacing Esports Network with this Raw Before the 24 brought to you by SimSpeed TV. My name is Brock Caday, and here with me today I have Corey Ott and David Haynes for this multi-class race here to get prepped for the Daytona 24 hours. Boys, I'm excited. What about you?
Yeah, exactly. January Daytona comes alive with the sound of racing engines, and we all love the 24-hour, but this is a great little warm-up with some cars that we don't see quite as often in some iRacing endurance events. I'm thinking about our fastest class here, the Kias. We don't see them that often on the iRacing Esports Network, so it's great that they get a whirl.
Yeah, exactly, and at the moment you see that the grid. I think David, if you like the keys, you can read the key list off for us, sir.
Yep, exactly. So on pole position, Carlos Villegas with a 1 minute 52.1. He's followed up. Second place is Wayne Burke. Third is Brendan Hawken. Fourth, Rock Garcia. And fifth, Tanguy Pedrazoli.
And we'll go to our Mustang field now. The top five there is Jim Shedlick with a 201.372. Second is Stefan Overgaard. Third is Casey Kerwin. Fourth, Amjad Yamin. And fifth is Pasquale Iannucci. Excuse the pronunciation.
And our Mazda grid on pole position with a 2 minute 10.5 is Travis Swanky. Second place, Jason Cooper. Third is Garrett Griffin. Fourth is Elmer Elracotti. And finishing off the top five is Mr. Gene Fiddles.
Well, guys, I think we're in for a great race here. So as we wait for this field to grid up, we've got 30 seconds to go. Rolling start here today. We have a 2 hour and 24 minute race as well, so roughly 2.5 hours. Single driver race here as well, and as I said before, multi-class. Now, these cars here are ones that we're not, I guess a lot of people won't be used to seeing in more of an endurance style event with this sort of length. So I'll be really interested to see how a lot of the drivers here deal with the multi-class situation as well as the differential in speed between all the cars.
Yep, certainly. The Kia, expect lots of pit stops from them. They wear out the tires pretty quickly, and they don't have a huge fuel tank, and the turbo engine does chew through it. For the Mustangs and the Mazdas, probably expect just one stop out of those cars.
Exactly, and also as well, don't forget that the Kia is one of the few cars on the service that is front-wheel drive, so you'll see a lot of Kias maybe understeering through the corners and out of the corners. And don't forget that the speed difference between the three classes is way bigger than what it is in the actual 24-hour race, even though their times are significantly faster than these little cars. So expect to see a lot of mistakes in traffic, a lot of cars getting held up in traffic, and maybe a few wrecks down the straights with people not knowing where other cars are going.
So as we now come around to race start, the pace car is coming around turn 4 as we speak and getting ready to peel off. We've got the Kia field at the front here. Good to see the Mustangs left some space there, so now we just wait for that pace car to come in for us to go green. Those Kias are looking ready to rock and roll here. That pace car still coming around. They're all a little bit of a gap in the middle there. They want to be right up tight. The leaders are nice and tight. Their safety car is in, and now we wait for the green flag. And the Kia field is gone. The Raw Before the 24 is away. Great start from our leader, Carlos, there. He has got a great jump there, side by side in the background between Burke and Hawken. Into turn 1 they go, nice and clean so far. All on the brakes, like you said earlier, Corey. Got to watch for that understeer with front-wheel drive. They all get through turn 1 cleanly. That is good to see. Now we'll flash back to our Ford Mustang field, who are coming into turn 1 here, side by side through, all behaving nicely for the time being. No incidents at the moment. We've got a slow guy up on the right-hand side here, unfortunately. But we'll flash back now to our Mazda field coming through turn 1 and 2 here. Again, nice and clean. This is great to see for the start of our race.
Oh, that Mustang's right in the middle of that Mazda traffic. Don't want to be getting involved in a wreck this early in the race. He'll stay all the way to that right side. He'll hopefully get through the two cars, only two cars, but two Mazda's got to get through, and then he's back with in front of them and trying to catch up with the Mustang. So, and who is that? That would be
Stefan Overgaard is the driver of that Ford Mustang. Off to a bit of a slow start, but appears to have it rolling again now, getting back up to race 8.
He was actually second position as well, so that's not a not good start for him. But don't forget, 2 hours 24 minutes to recover the time. So you don't want to be stressing about those mistakes now. You can still recover them. Still got a lot of time left to go.
So having a look here, that Mustang is working his way back through the field on the oval section. Obviously, much better straight line speed in that big V8 Mustang. So the field has made it through the bus stop now. The Kias are just coming through the bus stop, and we actually already have a battle on for our lead here, as Carlos Villegas and Brandon Hawken are about to go side by side through turn 4, coming through to finish the first lap of this race, and they are already battling for the lead. Guys, this is a 2.5 hour race. You can cool it for a second, but no, they are not going to. Brandon Hawken on the outside, coming through to turn 1 here, side by side under brakes. Hawken around the outside. He's trying. He might get this done too, but no, Carlos back on the inside there, and he's going to try and keep this position, but it's not over yet. They are so close to making contact, but this is some absolutely awesome racing. Now Hawkins to the outside here.
Oh no, but in the background, in the background, the 4 key, who was that one? Rock. Yeah, there you go. So what's happened to him? Oh, that's not good. He's just got a little shove up the rear from the number 30 machine there. Who would that be? Tenge Predrazzoli. So we're so sorry if we are screwing up these names, but there's a little tap in the rear going into the braking zone there of the International Horseshoe, but they're all still rolling, so which is good.
That's exactly it. And heading back to this lead pack in the Kias, Hawkins has fallen off a little bit, but that's just brought Fabrice Cornelis right into this top 3 battle here. And you've got to keep in mind the draft on this oval section. You have a lot of this oval section just to sit in behind and try plan your move out, either for the bus stop, which is gutsy but can work, or for down in turn 1 here. So Hawkins is actually coming right back up on the back of Carlos here. Other way around there. So now we look down at the bus stop, not going to make a move here, just try and maximise that exit to get that move done. Cornelis coming under attack by Wayne Burke as well. So it's all going on here in the early stages, guys. Like I said earlier, they just don't seem to understand how long of a race this is. It's playing for keeps.
Very, very close still up there in those Kias. Field not really separating. You have to look all the way down to 15th place before you've got a gap larger than a second. So the draft absolutely keeping everyone together for right now. We'll see how long on fuel these guys can go. Sometimes it's only as much as 35 or 40 minutes in these Kias.
Oh, look at that. The background light blue car is at the 30 again, goes for 1, gets 2 in 1 hit. It's only lap 3 and he's pulling moves like that. That ups him up to 3rd, but Fabrice there into turn 1 actually did lift off a lot, so he's playing the strategic game. He's saving fuel while these 2 guys up the front are battling as hard as they can, but now that 30 car is going to hold up Fabrice and Wayne Burke as well, so a massive gap is now starting to form between 1st, 2nd and 3rd.
And just to flash to our Mustang field quickly, we've actually got a nice little battle developing here for 1st, 2nd and 3rd between Casey Owen, Jim Shedlick and Pasquale Iannucci. Down into what would be turn 4 now. They were side by side coming through to the first turn. Now, first place there in Casey Kerwin has got a bit of a gap, but Jim Shedlick, Pasquale Iannucci, Anya Yamin, there are 4 cars basically nose to tail through here as we have a look and wait and see what will happen once we get back out onto the oval section. Daytona's in a road course hard to pass on here as well.
Yeah, exactly, and also as well, there's not a lot of there's a lot of features as well, but we'll go to the Mazdas as well. They were 2 by 2 going into turn 1, and they're all nice, tightly packed. What I'd say a 9 or 10 car pack here for the lead. They're all the Mazdas. The big talking point. There's only one stop. The big talking point will be draft. If you stay in that draft, you are in a chance of winning the race. And at the moment, it's 22 and the 19 side by side. Oh, but Jason Cooper's holding them both off. He did start second. He's then out in the first, so he's controlling this pack, and you see every little bit of every little space of track, and a Mazda is holding it. They're still going on. This battle for second is still side by side. 22 car there goes wide. Garrett Griffin got a little bit wide there. He's going to lose spot, so he's going to get. Oh, he's not going to get behind Gene though, because they're going to go side by side on the oval. That number 2 car there, Travis Swanky, is still there. He's got the draft. if I was him, I'd be saving a lot of fuel. Not a lot of fuel to save, but at least some fuel saving is good enough. And he's going to go up to the high side. Gene's going to defend here into the bus stop. Who's going to give up? It's only lap 3, boys. Don't go attacking this hard into the race. There we go. Gene gives it up. So Garrett goes into second place. And they're all single file now through the bus stop.
And you've got to watch for the draft now with that number 19 car of Gene Fiddies. He's going to try come back on Garrett Griffin now with that draft. And he must have gotten a pretty good exit because he's bringing him in just a little bit, but didn't quite get enough of that draft onto the oval section. So now pulling back in, again, looking to the outside here. Travis behind him is having a think, which side do I go for? Who do I help out here? And it looks like he has chosen the number 19 of Gene Fiddies.
I think
giving him a little bump there. I think just a little bit of a helping hand. And they're going to try go for the lead here. This is some real NASCAR style stuff. It's suited for Daytona, I reckon. Gene Fiddies is trying to go around the outside here as they go 2 by 2 for the top 4. Through into turn 1 here. The number 16 of Jason Cooper will keep that lead. Fiddies goes out just a little bit wide here, ruining his exit. So now he's going to try and fight off again. Number 22 and Gene Fiddies going hard at it here. And Gene is going to throw it down the inside, try and make this move work. I feel like I've got deja vu. This is a carbon copy of last lap.
exactly. It's a side by side. And it's going to go well side by side until the exit of the infield force here. But at the moment, it's... They're all going at it like it's the last lap. They're all in the draft, side by side. There you go now, Gene. Oh, I was about to say he's going to slide in behind, but he's going to go for a move. Oh, gets it done though, but look at this now. The 2 car's going to have a look. Oh, but that good door will close. So there you go. It's going to be, looks like what'd be still a 9-car train for the lead of the Mazda field.
Now, David, have we got anything else exciting going on in our other 2 fields we've got here? We've got to remember this is a multi-class race. There is just so much going on throughout this whole field.
Yeah, exactly. The really long straights, banked corners of Daytona here mean that the long full throttle sections give a great opportunity for draft. Really keep all the Mustangs stuck together as they're going to go 2 by 2 over the start-finish line. Casey Curvin will have to settle for second place, I think. No, Pasquale Iannucci will. Casey Kerwin just led that lap, but will have to go around the outside of the first corner. And I think both the Mustangs and the Mazdas, the draft block is very, very strong. It will take a lot for anyone to be able to make a breakaway.
Well, just as you were saying that, David, there was 3 wide for the Mazda lead, and Garrett Griffin decided to split the middle of Gene Fiddies and Jason Cooper to grab the lead, but they're now again 2 by 2 going onto the tri-oval here to finish on lap 4 and start the 5th lap there. They are battling like it's the last lap. Guys, calm down. It's a 2-hour 24 endurance race. And they're all going at it like it's only a 30-minute sprint race. It's crazy.
Well, this is what we come to see, and this is what all of our viewers of the iRacing Esports Network come to see. And I got to say, all these drivers here today are putting on an awesome show, no matter what class we're in. But you're very right, Corey. This whole, there's a proper, what we have, a 8-car battle at the moment for first place. And like you said, the draft and the Mazdas, if you stay in the draft, you're a chance of a win. And even though we're still a couple of hours away from race finish, that draft is going to be so important with, again, pitch strategy not playing as big a part in the Mazda field as what it will in the Mustang and the Kia field. And again, that draft is just so important. And you watch here, Garrett Griffin is under fire at the moment. He's by Travis Schwenker, and Gene Fiddies has fallen back again due to the draft not helping him out when you're out front. Out front, you can't do anything. You're vulnerable. So you just have to sort of, it's basically leapfrogging as you go down the straights, trying to decide who's going to be the leader of the next lap.
Yeah, exactly. And something's wrong there with Gareth. He went all the way to the inside coming out of the little hairpin there, and then same thing going out on the oval as now. That 2-car there, side by side again for the lead. Gene would love this, but he's got nowhere to go. He's basically boxed in. And now Jason Cooper will be looking at this and be like, oh, here we go. Chance to get my lead back off NASCAR turn 2. They're all still in the draft. Who's going to give up though? Because they've got a bus stop here. It's single file, boys. Look at that 2-car will give it up, and he's wide. 22 cars wide. They're side by side. There we go. He gets it back in line. And now there you go. See, trying to get rid of the draft as quick as you can out of the corner, but that won't work. Oh my god, this is great. Amazing racing here, both when they're all giving each other plenty of room. There's been no contact as of yet, so which is great to see. Here we go. Can we see some little bit of NASCAR bump drafting here off NASCAR turn 4? No, Cooper has a little look, wanting to make it 3 wide, but can't do it. This is great racing here by these Mazda guys. It's now an 8-car pack for the lead, with only 2 hours and 10 minutes left to go.
Yeah, and also got to congratulate these guys, how clean they're being as well. You know, there's a lot going on here, and cars going left, right. They're trying to pass 3 wide and everything, and very, very clean. The only X's that are being given out are 1X's or 0X's bumping down the straight. Now, I just noticed in the background of that Mazda shot, we actually have the Kia field, who are embroiled in a massive battle for the lead right now, coming up on the lead pack of the Mazdas. So this is that traffic we were talking about earlier, and it is about to strike in one of the worst spots of the circuit if they catch them in these next couple of corners. Look, a Mazda is already getting in the way of the Kias there. That is very, very awkward for those lead guys. That Mazda just trying to stick to a line and let them all through there. Now, look at this battle pack they've got in first, second, through to 8th place in the Mazdas. The Kias are trying to get by onto the oval, side by side through there. This is going to ruin that Mazda draft. They're going to have to work together. Now, one of the Kias is making a breakaway in first place there. That is Brandon Hawken. He's got a bit of a gap now. They can go around the outside of the Mazdas, around this oval here. That got a little bit dicey for a second there through the midfield, but that is just the traffic we're talking about. We're 16 minutes into this race, roughly speaking. Not even, excuse me, about 14 minutes in, and they've already caught them. So this just shows you how often this Kia field is going to be passing those Mazdas.
Yeah, these Kias are an absolute bullet in a straight line, hitting some speeds of 270, nearly 280 kilometers an hour. But on a used set of tires, they're really not that quick through the corners. In fact, late into a stint, the Mustangs are actually a little bit quicker through a corner than the Kias are. So in a straight line on the banking, Kias can absolutely mob the Mazdas and the Mustangs. But through the corners, they can almost hold up the slower classes if they're a little too optimistic in their passing.
And that's the interesting part of multi-class racing, is dealing with these the different situations you come across in the different cars. And like you said, worn tyres versus new tyres, and your pace compared to the other classes. So this is going to get really interesting as we get deeper into these stints. But notice what's happened now. The field has been broken up a little bit thanks to that Mazda field. So that draft advantage from the top 2 has now been lost on Fabrice Cornelis. He's in a little bit of a no man's land, with Reese Gardner trying to catch up behind him, and he's trying to catch up to the guys in front. But 2 guys in first and second would be very smart to work together and try and extend that gap, because they're only going to help themselves out towards the end of the race when they can battle out for the lead. So,
yes. Well, sorry to say this, Brock, but something just happened with the Keys field. The number 30 car. Oh, he's got it, just shunted. And it's not him though, but so he just had a little bit of a tap on someone's rear going into 1, and as some reason I think either was going to blow the engine or something else, because he's went in. He had the move done, but he just went right and parked it up. So he's got a long time to tow. So that's him out of the race basically. Win. Yeah,
issues for Tanguy Pedrozzoli. I did see that. He made some contact in the braking zone for turn 1 and then just pulled his car off and asked for a tow truck. So something bizarre there. And I think our Mustangs are not far away from catching some Mazdas either. So the lead for the Mustangs being held up, split, go 3 wide with it's Jim Shedlick in there as well, with Stacey Chandler. So the Mustang lead being broken up a little bit by some of their first lap traffic.
And just as we're talking about the Mustangs, the Kia field haven't followed my advice. First and second are battling it out hard into turn 1, which isn't going to benefit them letting Fabrice catch them. And Fabrice is not bad on pace, so and quite a well-known driver in the community. If he can get up onto the back of them, he'll fight just as hard for those positions. So battling like that is going to slow them down and give guys like Fabrice and now Wayne Burke in 4th to really come back onto the back there and get that draft again and hopefully stick with them.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the draft really. In all the 3 classes, it's not as a strong point as in the Keys, but it's all about that draft around Daytona. basically most of the lap you are flat to the floor on a straight, even if it is banked like the oval corners. But back in the Mazdas, it's the lead pack is been wiped off a car or two, but they're still going at it. All the Mazdas, all the Kias, and the Mustangs, well, I think the Mustangs haven't caught up to them just yet. But other than that, the Kias should be catching up to the Mustangs, I'm guessing, in the next 10 minutes or so. So the Kias would have lapped the whole field before the first half an hour, which is something extreme that you never really see in any sort of multi-class racing at all.
It is a pretty long lap. It really is. The circuit length is nearly 6 kilometers, so it's not like lapping at Lime Rock Park or Tsukuba or any of those. It's a big lap around here. The pace difference between those Kias, between those Mazdas, absolutely huge.
That's it. And like you said earlier, this field, unlike the actual Daytona 24 hours, this field is separated by quite a lot of time each lap. Your Kias are lapping 9 to 10 seconds a lap faster than the Mustangs are, and obviously even faster than that compared to our Mazda field. So they really do reel them in. And like you said, they might be lapped the whole field by the time half an hour of this race has passed, and that is a very real possibility. Is in the background of the Kia shot, you can actually see some Mustangs heading onto the oval. So there really isn't that much time for them to catch up.
Yeah, and back with the Mazdas, Garrett coming out of the bus stop had a little bit of a sideways moment coming from the bus stop, had to go a little bit cutting the course there and got a slowdown, but he's out of that pack, but he's still within range of the draft, so he's still got a chance here, luckily.
Yep, led that field, led that pack, and then too hot into the bus stop, picked himself up a slowdown penalty, had to go all the way high on the banking out of everyone's way, slow it down. I think he's rather lucky that he's managed to stay with that pack for the moment, because if he dropped back just a second further, we'd have had a lot of work to do. Would have had to have relied on some luck as well to maybe catch this lead pack again.
And sorry guys, just flashing back to the Kias, I just saw Reese Gardner nearly up in the fence on the oval section. He looked like he made contact or nearly made contact with Rock Garcia. And up into the wall, sparks flying, but now he looks like he's alright. But so that seemed a bit odd there, like he had a little moment coming up onto the oval. He does in fact have some damage on his front left, which may have come from contact with Rock Garcia there. So yeah, these guys, they are fighting for keeps. And well, these three here, Garcia, Gardner, and Kip Stevens, need to work together to get back up to that top four there. Because if they don't, they may well lose out if they don't have the pace in the midfield.
Yeah, it's all about that draft. But don't forget as well, it's another factor of this race for these Kias is you've got at least, we'll be guessing 2 or 3 stops on these Kias. The fuel tank is it's a really thirsty machine, even though it's not a big gulping V8. The Mustang and the Mazda's got a big enough tank to do just only the one stop. But the Kias are just want the fuel so much of that turbo. As you said before, the turbocharged engine eats up all the fuel, so it's all about the less time you spend in the pits in the Kias is the more time you'll get on the track. So that really is all about, for all the 3 classes, the less time in the pits the better.
And one thing about those Kias is that in their pit stop sequence, they don't fuel quickly. No fueling rigs for them. It's a guy with some fuel cans filling that thing up. It really fuels at less than a gallon per second, just a couple of liters per second. You can sit stationary for a long time filling up that fuel tank. So that's where you can get a big advantage from sitting in the draft, saving some fuel. Because if you save 5 liters or so over a stint, that can save you 2, 3, maybe up to 4 seconds in a pit stop, which is in contrast to some other cars that fill a lot more quickly.
And if you look at the gaps on track here as well, the top 4 are separated by 0.6 of a second. So to put that in perspective, these guys, if these guys can save some fuel and then, like you said, make up a second or 2 in the pits, that's going to jump this lead pack and put them out in front. And if they've got pace and can use those new tyres to their advantage, they could be off, and then that draft effect from behind of guys catching them may not even be existent, which is exactly what the winner of this race will want, is to hopefully have a nice quiet race after that first pit stop. But I have a funny feeling that there's going to be great battles going on this whole race, because no matter what happens, they just can't, none of these fields seem to be able to separate, particularly the Mazdas and the Mustangs as well. Like that draft effect is just immense, and they just keep on going and going. Albeit, checking out the Mazdas now, the top three have got a little bit of a breakaway pack from 4th, 5th and 6th as well. So I think some of that traffic has not helped them, because now they've got these big gaps happening, which means they're not working together as well.
Yeah, certainly that 4th place though, Luis Gonzago Filo, is still within the draft range of the guys ahead. I think it's a top 7 right now, as once again Garrett Griffin gets it very, very out of sorts through the bus stop, and he might just lose that position out. They're going to go too wide through that bit of banking there. So I think it's still a group of 7 for the lead of the Mazdas. It's a group of 11 for the lead of the Mustangs, and a group of 4 for the lead of the Kias, who aren't far away from catching those Mustangs for the first time.
Yeah, that's another reason why. Well, another reason would be the reason of the Mustangs having a massive amount of cars for the lead pack, is because they haven't got the leading Kias have come by yet. So that's the reason why the Mazda pack did also shuffle up a bit, decrease a couple of cars. Now to remove the lead in the Mustangs. Shedlick is looking, well, actually not looking, he's nearly going to get the move done into one on the outside, but he's got a braking zone to worry about. Kerwin's going to let him have it though, or maybe not. A little bit too wide there by Shedlick, so there you go, Casey gets the lead back. But now Inucci is going to have a little look here, but he's got the outside line into the horseshoe. There's another car there as well, so you can see that everyone's having a look. Oh, nearly contact there going into the horseshoe, but they all get through cleanly.
That was close there with Craig Edwards on Jim Shedlick. That could have been a lot worse there. He did well to pull that car up. So now a little bit of a gap here is formed between first and second and third, but that battle for third place is still raging on. And this Mustang field, they're separated by nothing at the moment. It's quite literally a few seconds separating the top 7 or 8 in this field. It's absolutely immense, the competition level we're seeing here today.
Those Mustangs are about to catch 3 Mazdas right as the leaders of the Kias are about to come through as well. So I suspect into the bus stop on this lap will be very exciting, as Casey Kervin has to look forwards at Jake Johannesson, at Joels, and meanwhile the leader of the Kias, where is Brandon Hawken? He's a little bit just further back than that, but certainly it's about to get very spicy, and the Kias are getting deeper into a stint where their tyres drop off quite a bit. I've seen that the braking distances get 50, 60 meters longer on a used set of tyres. Here comes Brandon Hawken on the lead pack of the Mustangs now.
And they're also 3 wide up and drop a lap the Mazda, so this is another story of the race. Each and every class lapping themselves and each other. It is going to be chaos. You can see there that they're all just jostling around, getting past the Mazdas, trying to find their own space, and they're all getting through clean. You see the Kias using the high line, so they're all smart about it. They're all going to get through as well cleanly, so they're all doing an amazing job at lapping without contact.
I've just rode on board with Wayne Burke for a little bit there. He lifted out of the throttle very early for turn 1, trying to save some of that fuel and not risk going too wide with Pasquale Iannucci as well. So he's driving smart, not just around the traffic, but I'm sure thinking about fuel strategy as well.
Just watching the way these Kias are carving through traffic, every car on track is doing a beautiful job of not causing too much hassle. And not causing any incidents there as well. Actually, we've got the leader of Kia trying to work through the Mustangs, and actually the leader of Mustangs and a couple of Mazdas as well. So this is intense. They come around to the oval 3 wide just about as they come through there, and they are 3 wide into the braking zone. These Mazdas are doing their best to stay out of the way here, but my goodness gracious me, it is difficult. They were nearly on the grass trying to stay out of the way of these lead packs.
It's all about how considerate you are with the class leaders and everyone else. There's a little bump. Oh, couple of Mazdas, they have a little bump right as the Mustang was about to lap, so that could have went bad real quickly. It's another you can see the Mustangs just weaving their way through the key all the way down the bottom as well. Oh my god, they're all everywhere trying to find a space, a real estate to just lap them. It's all crazy. We're not even an hour into this race, guys, and they're still going at it like it's nothing. So
we're not even a half an hour in at the moment. Yeah, we've already had every field lap everyone else basically. So all the fields have now come together. And just keep in mind, we have a 46 car field here today as well. So that's a lot of cars to be in the same spot at the same time, trying to make passes and trying to get past each other here. So yeah, this is it looks almost like a weird sort of party's being held. But we'll flash back to the front of the Kia field just to keep up with those guys at the moment, because there is still a nice little battle going into the top four, and Fabrice Cornelis is doing very well. He's dropped off because of the traffic, but he's coming back to these guys. So he does have quite good pace through the midfield, through the infield, and then also through the bus stop, to be able to make up that time that he made losing based off of the draft, and also after that traffic just that we saw then.
Yeah, and Fabrice Cornelis is also doing a little bit of lift and coast into some of the braking zones like I saw Wayne Burke doing. So not a bad spot to be if you're a Kia, is just right on the back of that little lead pack, hopefully being able to look after your tyres, hopefully saving a little bit of fuel, and maybe get a jump when the first pit stops come around. With how thirsty they are and how slowly they fuel, it's absolutely the car where you can make the most through the pit lane by saving some fuel.
That's it, and let's be honest here, with a few pit stops coming up, these guys have to consider, can they short fill or long fill now and make up that time later in the race and jump their opponents? So they've really, the Kias especially, have got to think this through quite thoroughly and look at their fuel strategy. So the guys who are really serious about this will have done the laps, done the fuel calculations, and understand exactly what is needed of them in this race, and probably have a couple of strategies outlined and ready to rock and roll. So right now, as we can see, there's not much in the way of actual battling going on in the Kia field. They're all just drafting along with each other, but that could mean that guys like Carlos Villegas and Wayne Burke are going to be in a better position than the likes of Brandon Hawken, who is out the front leading everybody in terms of fuel when it comes to the pit stop.
Hawkins been rather content to keep leading that pack, and we've seen in the last 5 laps or so, the guys behind were rather happy to just sit there for the moment. So I imagine we'll likely see Hawkins down onto the pit lane, and some of the guys behind potentially stay out if they've all been saving fuel back there.
That's it, and we're going to flash to the Mazda field now, because we've got the leaders of the Mazda field coming with most of the Mustangs about to come through on them. So right now, 3 wide coming down into the horseshoe as the Mustang splits the Mazdas and tries to go down the middle there of the track. So honestly, it's a bit weird seeing these little Mazdas with the Mustangs and the Kias towering over them, but the Mustangs are going to try and weave between them, the Kias here. We've got Mustangs weave between the Mustangs. We've got a Kia coming up in the background as well. So these Mazda leaders, they're trying to stick with each other, because without that draft along the oval, there's just no hope of keeping up. And it's so hard when they've got these Mustangs trying to chew through the field like this. But well done to all parties for no contact made, no silly mistakes. They're doing all really well here, going side by side, not hitting each other, and keeping the racing nice and tight and close too.
They're all trying to minimise damage and mistakes as early as they can, because you want to. It's all about really that last hour for these Mazdas up their first around in pit stop. It's all about where you are up to and into that final hour is what can decide a race. It's not 30 minutes into it or halfway through it. It's that final hour, as you can see everyone's really thinking ahead, not right now.
And part of what made that such a difficult job for the Mustangs through the infield is that the top 11 or so of the Mustang field were all together as a group when they approached that. And going through the Mazda leaders has really broken them up. It's let Casey Curvin and Jim Shedlick break away just a little bit from Pasquale Iannucci in third. And in fact, Jim Shedlick giving a lovely little NASCAR bump to Casey Curvin, and the two of them bump drafting over the start-finish line, trying to make a little two-car breakaway for the Mustangs.
And that's the sort of teamwork they need as well, because that teamwork there is what's going to push them away from the likes of Iannucci behind, who's by himself, and have that extra speed on the straights to just pull away bit by bit. And we know Kerwin and Shedlick both have some good individual pace as well. So if they can push through the infield, they might be able to break away and pretty much nullify any sort of strategy the guys behind can have, and they'll just have a nice two-car battle. So they're playing this very smart and working together instead of battling it out together and bringing the rest of that pack back in. Just in the background there, we've actually had a Kia just spin right off the track there.
Kevin Archer was. He was, let's see, where is he? Currently 14th place in the Kias and a little bit off the lead, now making his way through the Mustangs, but obviously been unsighted somewhere and had a little off-track excursion.
There you go. So as this race goes on, there's always going to be something going on, because as these fields spread out more, if they do, that pretty much at any time of the race, we'll have faster cars going by slower cars. So this is going to get real dicey, particularly for these lead packs, as the other, particularly for like the Kias, as the Mustangs and the Mazda start to spread out and come all over the track. They're going to have to fight hard to stay close to their opponents. So we watch the Kias now as they come through turn 1 here, and they're going to come through turn 2 and 3, still staying line astern at the moment. Fabrice is caught up nicely to the back of this pack here, so he's in a good position at the moment, and they have got a lot of time back to Rock Garcia in 5th place here. Rock is about 7 seconds behind 4th place at the moment, so he's got to really push and work that pit stop strategy to get back up to these guys at the moment. And as I say that, we are just over half an hour through this race, excuse me. So about an hour and 50 left to go here, and still plenty of racing left to do. But these guys separated by only 4/10, the top 3 of the Kia category. So this is absolutely awesome racing we're seeing here by all parties.
Hawkins still leading that one, and I'm honestly expecting him down onto the pit lane in the next couple of laps. Certainly, last 15 minutes now, he's led that pack the highest fuel consumption, and we've mentioned it time and time again, they really do go through that fuel to these Kia Optima Touring Car World Challenge cars.
Yeah, those Kias are, I do believe, are maybe GT or near to the GT4 spec that we have. So everyone's been saying that, you know, we might need a GT4 car in the near future. And well, honestly, I wouldn't mind having the Mustang as a GT4 car. We've already got one in the service. Having another one wouldn't be too bad. But I think a lot of the battles for the lead at the moment have started to die down. The only one I think would be alive still is the Kia lead, with, as you said before, Hawken leading and expecting, or we are expecting him to be on pit road in the next couple of laps, maybe even a bit longer, because at the moment he's holding stationary, so no one is battling, no one wants to get by. They all know they want to save as much fuel as they can, especially for British, because he stayed at the back of the pack in 4th, so they're all thinking of it strategically, not I want the win right now.
Tyres definitely going off for the Kias as well, though. Watching them break into turn 1, the braking distances have gotten longer. They're all looking a lot more wiggly under brakes. I'm not sure what it is about that car, but it does chew through its tyres rather quickly.
And I was going to say as well, probably another reason that these Kias aren't battling as hard as what they were, is the tyres probably don't have the life in them to go for a dive and really make a move work, because like you said, the cars are wiggling, they're having to brake longer. You can't really get a convincing move done if your car breaks out under brakes, excuse me, and you start skidding, you know, around turn 1 and let the others past you. So the smart move is to save a bit of fuel and stay line astern and have another crack when you've got new tyres and full fuel on board and ready to go again. So we'll have a quick look at our other fields now. So Kia, 1, 2, 3, Brandon Hawken, Carlos Villegas and Wayne Burke. Our Mustang field, first is Jim Shedlick out there with Casey Kerwin, so those two are still fighting it out there and helping each other. And then in 3rd place we have Pasquale Iannucci and First place in the Mazda field, Jason Cooper. Second is Travis Schwenke, and third is Garrett Griffin. These three involved in a pretty intense battle pack at the moment, with Luis Gonzago Filho on the back of this battle pack. So still plenty of action going on in the top parts of these fields, whilst a bit of the rest of the field have spread out a bit thanks to the traffic. So right now we're not going to see too much more traffic, but again we'll have that that crazy period, if you will, where everything's just going to happen all at once and all these fields are going to converge again.
So the top 4 of those Mazdas have managed to make a little bit of a breakaway from the group behind. So you mentioned the top 4, but in the next pack, just 4 seconds behind them is Vincent Alherbia, is Elmar Ellicott, and Gene Fiddies. And those 3 are going to have to work together if they're going to want to bridge that gap to the top 4. They're not too far off it, but it's the likes of Gene Fiddies, who was definitely running in the top pack earlier, and through some of the traffic lapping them, have just been pushed a little bit further back. But if the leaders go too wide through the bus stop, that will certainly help the group behind catch up. If they don't, Jason Cooper lifts out of it, and again, Garrett Griffin really likes to slide the tail out through the bus stop, and he might have picked up a slowdown again.
Yeah, he's not exactly clean through the bus stop. Like, the car seems to be struggling underneath him. Whether that's that may just be a setup thing. He set the car up a bit looser, so he's come back down now onto that yellow line and gone to the back of this little pack here. So you'll have to help Louise catch up just a little bit, but they haven't lost too much time here as the leaders go side by side again. Cooper and Schwenke side by side, and Cooper will look to have that one wrapped up by turn 1 here as number 24 of Louise comes down the inside of Travis and won't go for the dive. No, Travis has gone out wide there, and they will go side by side coming into turn 2 here. And this is this battling that we just love, these guys. The Mazdas don't have a heap of setup options, so it's a lot of driver skill, how hard you want to drive the car, and that's how you determine how well you go in this race. So these guys are doing really well for themselves right now.
One of those setup options, though, is front and rear anti-roll bars, and you might imagine that Griffin might be running a stiffer rear anti-roll bar than some of the others because he's got that thing very, very taily, and that was some of what you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, that's it. And some drivers, they love a taily car. They love a car that's loose and that they can drive hard, but other drivers like a nice tight car that turns in, but then you don't have as much give in terms of the driving style. But everyone's different, and that's the beauty of being able to set up these cars and having this as an open set event, because everyone's different. But then when it comes onto the track, you see those differences come out. You know, Garrett, when he's fast, is good through the bus stop and can really make up a bit of time coming onto those straights.
Pit stops for some of our Kias. So there's 4 Kias that have come down onto the pit lane. They are Reese Gardner, Sam Adams, I'm thirsty now, Julian Ignacio Longo, and Roman Wilfinger. So imagine that our leader, Brandon Hawken, might be coming in next time around. We've had about 40 minutes of racing, and that's about how long I expected the Kias would go.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting for a pit strategy in the end there. So about 40 minutes, and you've got to consider we've probably got for probably another 2 stops after this based off this current run that they've had. And that'll be interesting to see in terms of fuel, how much they put in now, whether some guys decide to go less to jump others, or even if Brandon Hawken at the front does a little bit less. It all just depends on how much fuel they do have to take on. So we'll watch this lead pack here and see what they do, because this is, and we've got Brandon Hawken is coming into the pit lane now, but 2nd and 3rd place and 4th are all going to keep on going. So this is interesting from Brandon. So I'll be interested to see when the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th come in, and he nearly didn't make it to the line. He had to lock up the brakes a little bit there, but he is in. The leader for Kia is in for their first pit stop.
Yeah, well, the leading Kias right now just caught up to the couple of, well, actually the leading pack of Mazda. They all had to slow up really, really quickly. Actually, sorry, that was not the leading pack of Mazda, but they all had to slow up because there was no doors open for them to go through, so they all had to check up. Fabrice nearly lost the rear of his car as well trying to check it up, so they're all through those Kias now. Oh, the Mazda, sorry.
We've had the pit lane times from those first cars that have stopped. A full tank of fuel taking as much as 1 minute and 46 seconds for Lance Nasir. That's nearly 2 minutes stationary to fill that car, compared to we're used to maybe 30-second pit stop times for other GT cars. So they do not feel quickly at all. If your fuel consumption was just 5% less, or maybe 3% less, and you save 3% of that pit stop time, that is several seconds indeed.
Well, we might actually see, I think, these Kias come in this next lap, because even though Hawken was in the lead, he might have tried the undercut, and these guys might try and react to that undercut by pitting this time. But so we've got the bus stop to go, and then NASCAR 3 and 4, and we're on to basically the pit entry straight, so we'll see what they do.
And the interesting thing here is they did get held up by those Mazdas, so that is not going to benefit them when it comes to Brandon coming out of the pit lane and those guys having lost a bit of time to those Mazdas. So this will be really interesting to see how it all pans out. Brandon Hawkins still stationary in the pit lane now.
Here we go.
We've got Carlos is in, but Fabrice and Wayne Burke will stay out another lap. So this is interesting. And wow, Carlos came burning into the pit lane there. So he may even get a stop go for that one, because it looked like brake rotors were glowing on there, and it looks like he may have sped into pit lane. Brandon Hawkins still stationary. So he's been stopped for 1:55 now.
Yeah, it's an 88km/h pit lane speed limit, and I think, just looking at the replay here, Carlos Villegas was doing about 115 as he crossed the cones on the entry, so he might pick up a 15-second stop and hold. That's the penalty for speeding on the pit lane on the pit entry. So you just get held 15 seconds longer at your pit stop. So we'll see if that happens for him. Tyre change is done for him, and now it's a long wait for that fuel.
And Brandon Hawken has just come out of the pit lane as well, so this will be interesting to see where he comes out compared to others who have already pitted. And it looks like, based off what I'm seeing at the moment, a couple of guys may have actually jumped him there who have already pitted. In fact, a lot of the field have got jumped him who have already pitted. So admittedly, he was stopped for the longest, 2 minutes and 13, compared to some who are only stopped for 1:20. So there are definitely some fuel games going on here at the moment, guys, and this is going to make strategy real interesting as we have an hour and 40 left to go in this race.
Yeah, well, don't forget, he's still got another 2 or 3 stops to do, so he might have been taking damage, or he might have actually got a speeding penalty that we didn't see. So, but he's still got a lot of time left to get back to the front of the Kia field.
That's it. And look, with the way pit stops are panning out and whatnot, like I said, quite a few guys have taken less fuel on board by the looks of it anyway, because some pit stops are 20 to 30 seconds slower than others. Wayne, Wayne Fabrice in. There you go. Yep. So they will come in. That completes the top 4 coming in for their pit stops. Now we've still got Carlos stationary in the pit lane, and it looks like he is gone now. So he's just come out of the pit lane at the other end there. So this will be really curious to see what Fabrice and Wayne do to try and stop Carlos from beating him, provided he didn't get that 15-second penalty.
Well, I think he would have, because he was stopped there for what was nearly 2 minutes. So I'm going to say this, but he must have got a stop. He must have got a 15-second stop and hold for that one. So, well,
his pit time is less than some of the other guys who had already pitted in the field. So maybe quite a few guys are getting these pit lane speeding penalties. I'm not 100% sure on how much variation you can have in the fuel.
I think Villegas might have just gotten away with it. Sometimes if you're just over the speed limit as you hit the entrance cones, if you slow it down more afterwards, you can just get away with it. If you drop your minimum speed a little bit lower than the pit lane speed limit.
Yeah, that's very true. It is a little bit of a cheeky loophole you can use, if you will. But we'll have a quick look at this Kia field. Looking at Brandon Hawken, who was our leader. He's coming back. He's coming onto the back of some Kias now, and also some Mazdas. And coming off the back of Reece Gardner now, our own Southpaw racer, who's gone out a little bit wide there. Oh, is he going to take that 3 wide onto the oval? Nearly. So they're trying to weave in and out between the Mazdas, trying to get around them. And Hawken is trying to get around Reece Gardner here with Jeff Mills just up the road there too. So Hawken has these fresh tyres, a few laps fresher than the likes of these guys, and is trying to make moves early and make up for that time that he seems to have used up in pit lane. And he will have Reece Gardner into the bus stop here, and nearly makes the dive at Jeff Mills too. That would have been courageous to say the least.
So it's made a great little pack here. Jeff Mills, Brandon Hawken, Reese Gardner, Wade Hayes, and they've all made one pit stop. Brandon Hawkins racing quick out on circuit, but he might need to put just a little bit more thought to fuel consumption and to strategy, because holding that lead for so long has really dropped him back compared to Wayne Burke, Fabrice Cornelis, and Carlos Villegas, who have now left pit lane.
Well, yeah, well now Villegas is, he's now the leader of the care pack, because Wayne, Burke, and Cornelis, so at the moment Villegas is in the second in good hairpin. Burke, he's just going in, so I'm guessing around about a 5-6 second gap between first and second in the keys at the moment, so.
That's exactly it, Corey. It's 5.5 seconds. That was a really good guess there. So Villegas has gotten a massive jump in the pits, and this is the strategy we were talking about. So now it's Villegas, Burke, and Cornelis are our top three after the first lot of Kia pit stops. Mustangs are yet to pit, and obviously Mazdas are yet to pit as well. So now we are watching with curiosity. I think that the next thing to keep a note on will be lap times. Once we see these top three sort out after their first lap after the pit stop, I'll be really interested to see their lap times when they're by themselves, and just how well they go, because Wayne Burke's got a couple of seconds back to Fabrice Cornelis too, so really no draft range, so these guys are all on their own trying to fight hard at the moment. So even looking through the field here, there's not much in the way of battles going on. Hawkins has cleared Gardner and Mills, so now he's got his sights set on Kip Stevens, who's a couple of seconds up the road there. Now if we go and have a look at our Mustang field, still locked at the bumper, Shedlick and Kerwin. I feel like this is deja vu all over again, because these guys have not changed in quite a while, working together really well at the moment, and they've got a nice 6-second gap back to the likes of Anyed Yamin there. So this is working well for them, this strategy, and their pace isn't suffering too much either. They're actually a few tenths a lap faster each lap now.
Yeah, the Mustang tyres, they're not entirely bulletproof. They certainly last pretty long. The real thing with them is the temperature. If you can cool them down a little bit, you can get a lot of the grip back. And so these guys must be about 20 minutes away from their pit stop. With a little bit of draft, you can make it on one stop for the Mustang. So expect all of them to pit at about halfway.
So I think what we'll get to see, hopefully, is some really good racing from the Mustangs here, and particularly towards the end of the race with Shedlick and Kerwin. I think those guys, that battle is going to explode after the pit stops. And, well, the Mazdas, if we look at that top four battle pack, they are still going side by side. I can't believe this, because they've been doing this for nearly 50 minutes, these guys. I don't know how they aren't making any mistakes or anything yet. And Garrett Griffin back up to second place after sliding and maybe getting a slowdown coming on into NASCAR turn 3 and 4 after the bus stops. So these guys, they don't give up, do they? And they've got a Kia weaving between them as well. So this is some really great stuff, and really good to give the viewers something to watch as well with this Mazda battling.
Garrett Griffin, got to admire the perseverance there. He's had maybe less of a smooth race than the other guys in the lead pack, but he's still up there, currently in second place, and he gets split by one of those Kias, who gets a little bit of a tap and slides around.
Yeah, wow, that was, now they're 3 wide onto the oval section there, so this is showing what traffic can do to these guys. So number 22 of Garrett Griffin is up on that high line there, not gaining too much time, might be able to slide in behind the 24 there of Luis Gonzago Filho. They're going to come around on the high side of the oval there, and they've left this AMS car, the number 2 car of Travis Schwecke, all by himself there. So now they're going to have to try and draft down side by side. Be interesting to see how this turns out. Into the bus stop here, Travis brakes very late. Wow, that was a very late braking maneuver by him, flying through the bus stop, and has pulled it up. Well done. Look at the amount of time he gained on those guys, just absolutely sending it through there. That was great from him. And now
through all of this, the leader, Jason Cooper, has pulled 3 seconds, having that little pack split by that Kia. It remains to be seen, can he hold on to that gap?
That's the interesting thing, and that's where this driver skill will really come in. Now that we've got less draft effect on some of these cars, can Cooper keep it out there, or will these guys have better pace throughout some of the more technical sections of this circuit? So having a look now, the Mazda field is a little bit more spread out, but still got that battle pack for second, third, and fourth here. The Mustangs, we actually have a little bit of a battle going on here for fourth and fifth in the Mustang field. So Craig Edwards and Ben Snell going side by side now, as Ben Snell looks to be coming into the pit lane for his pit stop. So that's
early.
Interesting. Yeah.
That'll have to be a two-stop strategy for Ben Snell, whatever he's thinking of there, because I ran this race last year in the Mustang. If you've got a drafting partner, you can just stretch out that first stint past the halfway mark and then make it to the end on one more tank of fuel. So this is early for Ben Snell, and it's going to have to be a two-stop strategy.
Not sure how that will benefit him at the moment, to be honest with you, because if you've got guys that are drafting out there together and helping save fuel, you're just going to use up time, man. I don't know, David or Corey, do you know if the tyres are really going to make that much of a difference for him, like we saw in the Kias?
I would honestly say it's a yes and no question. It depends on the driver. If you know that you can save the tyres and drive the car well, you can. You know, you can do the one stop with a drafting partner and keep those tyres in for that basically a halfway stint. But if you're like me, you've got a very heavy right foot with these very big Mustangs that have a lot of horsepower, the rear wheels, you know, you cannot really make a whole halfway stint on a set of tyres, or even the rear tyres of that. So it's depending on the driver, and it's depending on what is happening if they have a drafting partner on. But I think Ben Snell decided to take his first stop out of the road because he doesn't have really anyone to draft with bar Craig. So now
yeah,
Craig
my understanding is that taking a new set of tyres would maybe only give you 2 or 3 tenths per lap, but with a full tank of fuel, you do have time to change a set of tyres effectively for free, so it's what you would do anyway if you needed a full tank of fuel.
That's it. So you'd want to, if you're going in for fuel, you'll take tyres as well, and we'll see how Ben Snell's pace is in the end. But
he's come out with Dan Constantantis, so there he's got a little bit of a draft for what is 13th place in that class.
That's good for him. So that means that hopefully in this next stint for him, he'll save a bit of fuel, and that might be where he gains some time back. So, yeah, just having a look now, having a check-in on our old leader, Brandon Hawken. He has got some mega pace at the moment, lapping like an absolute demon, doing the fastest laps at the moment in the Kia category. In fact, his laps are some 7 tenths faster, 7 to 8 tenths faster than the leaders, which is massive. So he's really trying to reel them in at the moment.
And I'm just going to speculate here. So certainly we know Brandon Hawkins' fuel consumption in the first stint was rather high, but looking at his stationary time of 2 minutes 13, is it possible that he was a driver who picked up a speeding in pit lane penalty?
It's extremely possible, yeah. It didn't look like he carried anywhere near as much speed as the like of Carlos Villegas, but obviously depending on what angle and how you hit that pit lane entry line, he could well have picked one up, which admittedly he's doing a very good job to recover from it, and now he's about 25 seconds off the lead. So if he keeps going the way he's going, he's got time to get up there. But he's just gone below the yellow line to get past a Mustang and 2 Mazdas. This is insane. Yeah, he's got to keep pushing hard, but as those tyres go, the question is, will the pace go with it, or can he keep up at 7 to 8 tenths faster a lap than the leaders?
And I'm not sure if that Kia Optima has a pit lane speed limiter, or if the drivers have to manually with their right foot manage it along the pit lane. Because I know the Mustang and the Mazda don't have a pit lane speed limiter. It's on the driver to keep an eye on their dashboard and not overspeed in pit lane. So it's possible could have picked up speeding in pit lane, not from failing to slow it down enough at the entry, but from potentially being distracted by something trundling down the lane.
That's it. And I do believe the Kias do have a pit speed limiter, but the issue is that the speed they take into pit lane is immense on old tyres to try and wash off. Like you said, the braking zones are extending 50 to 60 metres in these Kias when they have old tyres. So when you're doing a pit entry, during practice you might have practiced it after a 5 lap stint or a 10 lap stint, but these guys, 15, 20 laps of tyres are gone on these cars. So it could have just caught a couple of people off guard. But in saying that, like I said before, he's doing massively well to reel those guys back in and doing some great laps as well to fight them off.
So Brandon Hawkins dragging along 2 drivers with him. So he's got big pace, but we've mentioned how powerful that slipstream can be, even in the higher horsepower Kias. So he's not managed to shake Julian Ignacio Longo or Kip Stevens, who are now getting some of the benefit of the pace that Brandon Hawkins is putting down. He's dragging those guys a bit higher up the order.
Okay, boys, we are nearly where we're over an hour, about an hour into this race. I'm going to ask you, who do you think are our key players here, all right? We've got pit stop done for the Kias. Mustangs are coming up to their pit stop and sold the Mazdas. Who are our key players coming into the second part of this race?
In the Kias, I would say that Brandon has got. He'll be one of those guys who's making his time with the field. He said before, he's setting personal best race, best times. He's lapping within the realm of over half a second against Villegas and Cornelis. So my guess would be that old top four that we had before the pit stop, it'll come back again later in the race. But I think that's really the only field at the moment. It's got a big amount of cars that can go for the win, because the Mustangs have only got really 2 cars that still haven't pitted yet. You got Kerwin and Shedlick. They're both, nose to tail, using the draft, basically using each other as draft partners, even though they're going for the win in the class, but they're not pushing so hard yet.
Sorry, Corey, we've actually just had Craig Edwards shooting to the pit lane here. So I'm not sure if he'll be able to make his car last to the end. So he may have decided to go for that 2-stop strategy as well. Sorry to jump in there on you, Corey, but these Mustang pit stops are happening at the moment. So I'm curious to see how that strategy works out in the end, because it seems like we've had Ben Snell pit a few laps ago and now this, but we haven't had any other Mustangs come in quite yet. So whether some of these guys are trying to go for that one-stop strategy and really stretch out this first fuel run, be interesting to see, because we're an hour in now, so we're getting up towards halfway through this race, which is crazy. It's absolutely flown by at the moment. But David, what are your thoughts on the Mazda field and who our key players are there?
Well, they were all absolutely inseparable as the draft lock sort of makes for the Mazdas. But Jason Cooper has managed to hold on to that little breakaway he's got, 3 seconds clear of the pack of Garrett Griffin, Travis Schwenke, and Luis Gonzago Filho. So at the moment, I have to say Jason Cooper is in the box seat. But the guys behind in that pack of 3 maybe have the opportunity to save a teeny bit of fuel. They can cut 2 seconds out of their pit stop time, then they'll be in a good position. So I still want to say Jason Cooper is your best bet.
Well, I think that's a good bet there, but the one counterpoint I'd have is pit stop. Not plural, singular, obviously they only have the one. What if a pit stop goes wrong? Pit lane speeding penalty, too much fuel, too little fuel, don't do the tyres you want, whatever else. That is the biggest variable in this race that could mess up a Mazda driver's race for them, because they only have the one, but if it goes wrong, it could put them back without a chance to get back in. So pit stops always, I know people who watch iRacing Esports Network or SimSpeed TV know that I love strategy. It is awesome, because it shakes things up like you would never believe, particularly in these longer races where some cars only have the one or multiple pit stops, whatever. So I'll be really interested to see how Jason goes managing that pace. He has a real nice gap at the moment over the rest of those guys, and how he manages his pit stop as well, because if I was him, I'd want to be conservative, risk losing a second or 2 on the entry to make sure that there is no pit lane speeding penalty, because you get one of those, that's 15 seconds gone, and honestly probably see you later for the rest of this race and that win.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that one.
Yeah, well, and also as well with the Mazdas, it's the tyres I think if you can do it right, if you don't take, if you don't take the left or don't take the right by mistake, or this or that with the tires, you could do the rest of the race, you could do basically the whole race on on a single set of tires, but something's happened up front. Oh, there you go. Kia's gone around at the bus stop. Who would that be? Philip Stoneman's went around.
Yeah, not his race. He's had the issues earlier where he got tapped or potentially dive bombed some of the Mazdas, and that sent him into the slide. We were talking about him earlier. It's not been his race.
Well, getting a little bit of a punt on the rear by Hawken into the braking zone of the bus stop doesn't really help his cause either. I think Hawken didn't know he was going to brake that early and was very surprised by it. And just a little tap, he couldn't do anything else. So, good thing was Stoneman did stop the car, didn't stop it on the racing line, so no one else was involved, which is good. So he'll get that car going again and hopefully continue on. He's actually in the pits now, so.
And that's been a great thing about this race, speaking of not anyone else getting involved, is the lack of incidents we've seen. So I know some people love to see crashes, but as commentators, I'm sure we all love to see great racing, and that's what we've got today. So these guys out there have been doing a really good job, battling hard but keeping it clean.
Mustang leaders into the pits, Shedlick and Kerwin into the pit lane right now. That is just a little bit earlier than halfway. I'm interested, can those two guys make it to the end from here?
Well, they're now both out and they're a different order. So now Shedlick is in front, so the draft that he had he saved fuel, so now Kerwin is out. He's about 2 or so seconds, or no, actually sorry, be bigger than that. Would be about, another guess would be about 5 seconds of gap. So if Kerwin wants to get back up, he'll have to push as hard as he can, because now they can't, if they try their hardest, I think they could make it to the end, but he needs a lot of draft to get it there.
So our leaders now for the Mustang field, yet to pit, Blake Neck leads Jay Osborne. And if these guys can go 1-2 laps longer, then I think they're absolutely in a position to one-stop this race. And suddenly that pair of Shedlick and Kerwin, who looked like the favourites, I'm not so sure about, because if they have to do this on 2 stops, that will absolutely cost their chance at a lead. The pit lane delta here at Daytona Road Course is very big. It's a long pit lane. The speed limit's not too slow, but the cars on the banking absolutely fly past at 230, 240 kilometers an hour for the Mustangs. So the pit lane delta is huge, even if you only need a very short splash of fuel.
That's it. So if those Mustang guys at the front, Neck and Osborne, can get away with a one-stopper, it could be what wins them this race. So,
and as you say that, they're both getting into the pit. So by the looks, you can't go basically do a one-stop in the Mustangs. You could try if you want, but it's not going to work. So.
Yeah, Linus Tech now also comes into the pit lane. So I think that's a pit stop from everyone in the Mustang field now. So that's just about as long as they can go, it seems. Oh, and he misses his pit stop. Pit box as Linus Tech now has to engage reverse gear on the pit lane. So that'll cost him just 4 or 5 seconds.
David, no, not everyone has pitted. Pascal Iannucci has not pitted yet. He's still going. So, actually, wait, no, sorry, he did pit in lap 1. Sorry about that.
So our leader now will be back to Jim Shedlick by the looks of it, once all of these pit stops do shake out here. So that looks like everything has gone back into the swing of things. Pasquale Iannucci has actually jumped Casey Kerwin in the pit lane. So this will be interesting to see in the closing stages of this race, just seeing how these guys go. So now we've got Jay Osborne and Blake Neck coming back out onto the circuit now, line astern, just as they were when they went into the pit lane. And now the race can continue here as the Kias come up on these two as they come out of the pit lane. That's going to be a little bit awkward there between Cornelis and Burke, who are actually quite close at the moment, with Carlos having gone off into the distance. So we'll have to see how these guys manage this little bit of traffic here. Blake Neck on cold tyres coming out of the pit lane, doing well to stay out of the way. And these two, yeah, a little bit tight there through the kick, but no, all is well now. So we'll just focus on Burke and Cornelis at the moment. I'm interested to see how they act on the oval, because if Burke tries to get up in the draft and pass him, we know what the agenda is, and if he just tries and stays behind him, then we also know that he's trying to fuel save. So this could tell a lot about how this race is going to go for the next hour and 18 minutes we have left now.
Yeah, absolutely. Wayne Burke was saving some fuel in the first stint, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him do the same in the second stint here. He's 8 seconds off the lead, and that's absolutely a gap that you can make on fuel strategy in these Kias. Carlos Villegas all stint hasn't had a drafting buddy. Cornelis and Burke have maybe not intentionally been working together, but they've been together, and that saves them a bit of fuel.
A lot of news has happened in the Mazdas actually. Garrett Griffin has left the service, so something's happened to him, and he's trying. So we'll try and get a replay of what's happened. So something has happened to that Mazda.
That's odd because he was doing quite well, albeit the car. Maybe he had an issue with the car. There we go. He's had a lose at turn 1 here. Yeah. Oh, and he's got a hit. Oh wow. Yeah. Right. So he was battling 2 guys. He got a hit from behind, and then Travis Schwenke came and finished him off. And that's race over for him, unfortunately. So what story of what could have been for him after having a couple of half spins and slowdowns and coming back through the pack, it's all over Red Rover for Garrett.
Okay, so we've got the replay up on screen.
So yeah, as you can see there, it is just unfortunately he goes a little bit wide, and the 2 cars behind him try to follow that racing line, and it's just an unfortunate racing incident for him this far into the race too. So I imagine some frustration under that helmet, but as you said, he has left the server now.
That all just increases Jason Cooper's lead now. It's out to about 8 or almost 9 seconds. So all of this to his advantage from a Mazda pack that was absolutely inseparable earlier in the race. They've all now spread out a little bit.
Now, Mr. David, you were just talking in our little chat there about the lift and coast from Burke and Cornelis and their strategy at the moment. You want to touch on that for us, mate?
Yeah, I've been watching a little bit on board with Wayne Burke, 3rd place in that Kia field, using the draft of Fabrice Cornelis. And I was expecting, with how slow the car feels, he might be thinking a little bit about the fuel strategy. But the amount that he was lifting and coasting was absolutely phenomenal. So hopefully, riding on board as soon as he goes too wide with Fabrice Cornelis, maybe he'll try and complete the pass this time. But he's lifting out before the start-finish line, coasting at 200 or so meters, and then braking for that first corner. Same deal for the bus stop. Both of these guys might be trying to even cut out a pit stop relative to Carlos Villegas, whose lead of the race has increased just a little bit.
Well, we've got probably another 10 or 15 minutes until that next pit stop comes around, because I believe they pitted around 1 hour and 44 to go. So yeah, it's roughly 40 to 45 minutes of stint here. So we'll be interested to see, provided there are no slowdowns or anything like that, how much fuel Cornelis and Burke take relative to Villegas. Because like you said, Villegas has been by himself this whole stint, and he seems to be just pumping in the laps. So right now, the likes of Cornelis and Burke are a few tenths a lap slower each lap, so they are losing time at the moment, but that could well be gained in the pit stops and bring them both back into contention. So as they go 3 wide on the oval there, a Mazda, a Mustang and a Kia, sounds like a funny bar joke.
Yeah, a Mazda, a Mustang and a Kia walk into a bus stop. It would end well if they were 3 wide, but it does give us a great demonstration of how tiny that little Mazda looks compared to the Mustang and the Kia, which you don't think of as exactly massive cars out on the road, but it just shows how tiny that little Mazda is.
Yeah, that's it. They're fierce, but they're small. So it's interesting to see how the big Mustang booming by them, and the Kia on the outside there just sailing by, as well as Cornelis and Burke just go on that high line all the way around the Mustangs and the Mazdas. So this is, again, this traffic is starting to happen again, but we may not see quite that big gaggle of cars as what we saw as Cornelis does a big lift by the looks of it and lets Burke by. down into turn 1. I wasn't in car there, but it looked like Cornelis just washed off speed on that front straight.
I think there is some fuel saving going on by Fabrice. He might be trying to maybe overcut Wayne because they're both very tight on pace at the moment. So they're both, I think they're both using each other as draft, fuel saving from each other. So Fabrice, let's go, let's Wayne glide, and Wayne, let's go, let's Fabrice by. So it's all...
Cornelis fully lifted out of the throttle as early as about where the pit entry is. So going on 100, 150 meters before the start finish line, a lift and coast of almost half a kilometer from Fabrice Cornelis.
Massive fuel saving strategy by Fabrice.
About the fuel consumption, that they might just be on the absolute cusp of cutting out a pit stop.
And just quickly, guys, we've had someone in the YouTube chat just ask for some lap times here. So just to put this in perspective for you, Carlos Villegas, his last lap was a 1:53.587. Wayne Burke did a 1:54.595, and Fabrice Cornelis a 1:54.673. So Villegas, his last lap was a full second faster than second and third place there. So this is interesting to see whether he's pushing in the Mustang class. First and second in Shedlick and Kerwin are neck and neck really in terms of times, about a tenth apart there. And your Mazdas, this will be interesting to see the Mazda. Just look at these Mazda times quickly. Cooper is currently 2 seconds a lap faster than Luis Gonzago in second. That's a rather large number.
Yeah, certainly. So it's all shuffled in the favour of Jason Cooper in those Mazdas right now, who leads 10 seconds over Luis Gonzago Filho, who's then 4 seconds clear of Vincent El Herbia. And if they go as long as they can on a full tank, those Mazdas are still a distance away from needing a pit stop just yet. Typically, I think they can do about 90 minutes, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's it. So that obviously they'll be right to get to the end here. So we'll probably expect to see those Mazdas pitting in the next 10 to 20 minutes, roughly speaking. And no matter when they pit, they should be able to make it to the end from now. So that we will see that soon. But it looks like at the moment, yeah, Jason Cooper in that Mazda field has the number on them. But we'll go back and just have a look now at that second and third battle. This is really intriguing me in the Kia class here between Fabrice and Wayne, because they've swapped spots again. So whether now they figured out through the communication of racing on a track that they need a leapfrog or something, I'm not too sure. But there seems to be some sort of teamwork going on here, and I'm curious to see how this goes. They're obviously trying to make up this time to Carlos, but they're also giving up a lot of time to Carlos in the process. So that's the complicated thing to balance here, is whether you like giving up that time to the guy in front, but you might just be able to make it up in the pits. We'll have to see. Like you said, David, if they're trying to cut out a pit stop altogether, that could make the difference here. And if Carlos has to do that extra pit stop, it could be all over Red Rover. So we're setting up for a pretty exciting last hour to this race as we come within an hour and 10 to go.
Villegas grabbed that lead through the first pit stop cycle by being just a little bit quicker than everyone else. Maybe 6 seconds less fuel than Fabrice Cornelis. And I guess that could switch around in the next round of pit stops or later on. Fabrice could have a much shorter pit stop than Villegas, who I assume, while he's putting in some good laps, is probably also trying to save some fuel out there as well, but will not be able to do it as effectively as Cornelis and Burke, who are trading slipstreams.
That's it, yeah. So lift and coast is quite effective, but slipstream and lift and coast is more effective. So this will be interesting to see. Fabrice stays in front there for the next lap round, so we'll have to keep an eye on them. Just having a look through the rest of the field here, it looks like everyone else is fairly well spread out for the time being. Not too much battling going on, so I think this is really going to come down to, particularly for those Kias, the last stop or two, before we really start to see things get shaken up, and the true pace of some of these cars. I feel like we haven't quite seen the true pace and the true vigour that these drivers can show in those Kias, because they're playing that strategy game. And I hope when we come to this last stint, we'll get to see some real fast laps and some real intense fighting, because in these Kias, you can really go for it.
Yeah, look a little bit further down the field for 10th place, though. That's our biggest battle in the Kias. Reese Gardner leads Wade Hayes, leads Jeff Mills. 3 of them all together there doing similar lap times. I think Reese is the one doing the hard work, punching through the air. Southpaw racer, sim racing daddy.
Oh no, no. Reese he's doing quite well. He had a bit of contact and damage earlier on in the race, so now
He's straightened out some of those panels on the front left. Certainly plenty of time stationary waiting on the fuel. They might have also had time to just get out a hammer or something and try and straighten those panels.
That's it, or have someone jump on there for it. So now, this is interesting here because these guys, I think that depending on how the pit stops all unfold, you've got to keep in mind that the pit stops, I feel like there was a lot of variation last time around. Like we had up to 40 seconds of variation in pit stop times last time, our last pit stop for these Kias. So some guys have taken very little fuel and some have taken a lot. It's hard to tell, but I'll be interested to see. We've got Brandon Hawken is up in 7th place, who was our leader before that last pit stop and hasn't been able to make... He's actually made a few seconds up on the leaders at the moment, so depending on his pit stop, I don't know how much he would have been saving because he's obviously trying to make up that time and he's doing the fastest laps in the Kia class at the moment by quite a few tenths. So I think he's pushing hard and that'll mean he's just going to need a full lot of fuel all over again.
Exactly. He'll have presumably some longer pit stops, even though he is banging in the only laps in the 1 minute 53s for the Kias right now. My timing screen's getting lit up just a little bit with the Mustangs though, because for 2nd place, Casey Curvin and Pasquale Iannucci have been together for a little bit, but it looks like a new clumping has formed. 4th place, seeing Amjad Yamin, Ben Snell, Craig Edwards, and Dan Karakonstantis all together as a group as well there. And that's a little pack that could get fierce later on. All of them obviously have pitted. Who has enough fuel to get to the end of that group, as the Kia group we're talking about earlier are now on the tail of them as well?
Yeah, so that's good to see. These Mustangs have come back into, have I guess, got a good fight going on again as those Kias do just wrap them up around the outside. It's always so entertaining to see the different classes going around each other, but yeah, right now Ben Snell can't do much there into the bus stop. It's a really gutsy move to go down there, and it's not one to try unless you're right up alongside. So he'll just slot in here. Ben Snell was one of our earlier Mustangs to pit as well, so keep in mind that his fuel may not last as long, and I feel like most of this field is going to need a splash and dash, if you will, towards the end of this race. Maybe not tyres, depending on how much fuel they need, but they just stopped before that halfway mark, so they might be able to make it majority of the way towards the end of this race, but just need a quick little splash and dash to get right to the end. As Reese Gardner has just peeled in a Kia for what will be his 2nd stop. So this is interesting because this is right on that 40-minute barrier for the Kia fuel. So this is going to be interesting to see what the leaders do in the coming 5 to 10 minutes.
Precisely. Assume that Brandon Hawken, we might expect him soon as well. And those likes of Cornelis and Burke going long. See what anyone else in the mid-pack can do, because certainly with how pivotal the fuel strategy is, someone could absolutely spring a surprise on us and make us look silly.
I'm not opposed to looking silly if it's for a good reason, so we'll have to see how we go with that. I think we may be made to look silly, but that's okay. Now, Corey, have we still got you there? You've been a bit quiet, mate. So what's your take on this fuel strategy here? Because we've got the 2 cars, Fuel Saving and Carlos, and when do you think these guys are going to pit?
Well, we're getting around to that hour to go mark, so there'll definitely be 2 more stops remaining for those guys. So they've got plenty of time to save a bit more fuel, maybe get up there. But the interesting question here is, if you're pitting with this hour to go mark, you've got 40 minutes. You've basically, at this point in time, for the Kias, it's diverting on to the point of, can you save enough fuel to do a 2-stop strategy, or do you have to pit and do a 3-stop strategy?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? And
in right now, right at the same time as Carlos Villegas gives up on fuel saving and pumps in his fastest lap for a long time, trying to protect against that undercut.
Exactly. So now guys are now going, yep, all right, we can't do the 2-stop. We'll have to pit again for another splash of fuel towards the end of the race. So my guess is if you pit around this point in time, you've got a 20-minute or so little sprint race at the end for these Kias. So, but the Mazdas have still got to pit, so everyone hasn't pitted yet. So there's still more time in this race to go. We've still got, as I said before, nearly an hour to go. So
it's unbelievable. So much has happened in this race so far, and yet we've still got an hour of racing to go. But at the moment, we've got Carlos Villegas still out on circuit, coming through NASCAR Turn 2 at the moment towards the bus stop. And just notice, just to comment on it, iRacing, I'm going to keep saying this, their dynamic weather looks beautiful at the moment with that sun going down. Shadows are changing, light is changing, so just another challenge for these guys to tackle out here on this Daytona road course. So we've got Villegas coming through the bus stop at the moment here, and Burke is just coming towards the bus stop as well at the moment. So be interested to see what these two do. Cornelis maybe trying to get an undercut with fuel and with tyres.
Yeah, he's away with just 1 minute 5 seconds stationary compared to his first pit stop of 1 minute 40. So he's clearly only taken on about 3/4, 2/3 a tank of fuel here, and he'll have probably another similar stop to get to the end. And everyone else takes a full tank.
So
here, yeah, everyone else will well inherit the.
Yeah, so I think that Fabrice is doing his short stop now, because that's basically your short stint right there is what it is at the moment. Or he could have enough fuel. Well, actually, will we near the 40-minute mark for their stint, David?
Burke stays out, so he will now inherit the race lead. We've seen a short stop from Cornelis. There's a lot to unpack in the Kias right now.
And like you said, Corey, he might be doing his short stop now, but that could be a masterstroke, because if he thinks he's got the pace and can get out there and really go for it, then he might be able to keep that lead. But he's going to have a hell of a gap coming into that this last part of the race, because that fuel difference is going to be rather large, and he's going to have to think quite heavily how hard he needs to go at it. Really, don't fuel save this stint, just push, push, push.
Yeah, at the moment of this race, getting towards this last hour, so I think we are now in the last hour of the race. So as I said earlier on, in this race, it's all about setting yourself up for that last hour. And Fabrice fuel saved in his second stint, and he basically did set himself up for the last hour. So I would not be surprised to see Fabrice just bang out fastest lap after fastest lap between now and the checkered flag of this race.
And I think that's clever, because what he's done is, instead of doing one more 45-minute stint and then a 20-minute stint, he's going to try and break the remaining time in half. And with how much we've seen the tyres drop away, what he will have is a tyre advantage. So if he pits then, with 30 minutes to go, he'll save that last 15 minutes of the stint where he's going around on very worn tyres. He might have the same fuel fill time total as everyone else, but he'll save that final bit of the stint trundling around on worn tyres that make him brake earlier, reduce how much speed he can carry through the corner, and make him wait to get on the throttle. The advantage there is tyres.
Oh boy, this is all unpacking to quite an exciting strategy race, and what'll be pace race. I'm actually just waiting to see Fabrice's first proper lap out of the pits, so his first racing lap that counts there, because I'll be really curious to see his pace. Wayne Burke has been out in front doing 53. His last lap was a 53.4, only 3/10 off his fastest lap of the race, and he's still going out on track at the moment. So he's really trying to milk the most out of that fuel. And looking back now at Fabrice, he's coming through now. Looks like to complete that lap, I may be on the wrong part of the circuit here, but I'll be interested to see, just because he seems to have had pace, but he's just been fuel saving. Sorry, that was the bus stop he is coming through. Got mixed up there. And I don't know, Fabrice I think has been fooling us. He may make us look a bit silly here, because he will have the lead, or should do anyway, based off other pit stops here. Everyone else's pit stops have been longer. Carlos only was 1:26, so he was 20 seconds longer, but still not quite as long as that first pit stop here. As Fabrice comes around, he's using a bit of the draft from that Mustang of Blake Neck in front of him there. We'll see what this lap time is in that number 1 car. Comes across the start-finish line. A 1:52.999, so that's a fairly competitive lap in the scheme of things. Not quite his fastest lap, but he will have done that with some draft at the very start of this race. So interesting to see, and we're still waiting for Wayne Burke to pit. So he's done well with that fuel saving because now he's right out there and making this car last. So he may just need to do a wee little splash and dash towards the very end of this race.
Exactly. Well, I'm just looking at the Mazda class at the moment, and by the looks, there have only been 2 guys at pit, which are Gene Fiddles and Travis Swanky. So they were both in contention of the wins. They might be trying to undercut. They know that they can, they did pit basically on the half an hour, still near the halfway mark. So they know they can make it to the end. So they're just basically splitting the race in half. The other guys are still going just to the end of their tank, then pitting, then taking tyres and going for it.
So it's interesting to see how, these front guys are trying to manage that strategy as our leader of the Kia class, Wayne Burke, comes around the leader of the Mazda class in Cooper there, Jason Cooper. Cooper's lap times at the moment, just to touch on him, he is doing so well. Once he got out front there and out of that draft range, he has checked out. His laps are about half a second to a second faster than the guys around him, and getting faster and faster. So he is doing so well at the moment.
His lead now out to 20 seconds. So when he had a 3-4 second gap, I was wondering, is that enough to break the draft? Absolutely, it has been.
So yeah, he's right now in prime time position in that Mazda class, but that just means we can have a look and focus on some of these other classes around us as well. So right now, Fabrice has got a 1 minute 20 gap to Wayne Burke. So Fabrice's last lap there, 53.3. So that pace isn't quite as fast as what I thought, as Carlos Villegas pumps in a 52.4. So that's interesting. Villegas has some good pace at the moment, and Burke's pace is actually not too far off the likes of Cornelis on that last lap. So Burke
died in the pit lane.
There we go. So that will, I believe, purge our Kia field for the most part, and that'll be that second lot of pit stops done. Wayne Burke is in an interesting position here because he goes 40 to 45 minutes. And that'll leave about 10 minutes left in this race.
Sorry to cut in, Brock, but there you go. Mazda leader Jason Cooper is now in, so he's decided that it's time to call it, get it in pit. So will he take tyres? Because Mazda's, there we go. He's up on the jacks. He'll take tyres. So it'll be around about, I think, a minute 30 stop for these Mazdas because it takes so long to refuel that big tank they have. Well, actually, it won't be because pitting after halfway, you can easily make it maybe on a 3/4 tank, if less.
And just keeping an eye on as well, Wayne Burke in the pit lane there because he's filling up at the moment. We're just waiting to see exactly where he will come out on track. So Fabrice, the people we've got to watch here, Fabrice and Carlos, coming around now. We'll see where Burke pops out in the end. Burke may decide to short fill and do a similar strategy to the likes of Fabrice, or he may just do a full fill and splash and dash at the end. So I'm really curious to see. His stop is at about a minute now, and he's still not moving. We've got Fabrice is coming around on what you call the front stretch now, and he's gone over the start-finish line. He will pass Wayne Burke, and we've got Carlos coming onto that front stretch now as well. Wayne Burke still not moving. And that's Villegas about to go past, and there we go. So Wayne Burke into third position now. Still sitting in the pit lane, so it looks like he's gone for that full fill, and will do a splash and dash at the end of this race.
That's interesting. I really feel like the strategies from Villegas and Cornelis are a bit stronger than that. They're not going to trundle around on old tyres. They're not going to have to worry about trying to stretch that last stint. And the interesting thing is that while Cornelis is now 12 seconds clear of Villegas, I'm pretty sure that Villegas has 20 seconds more fuel. So adjusted after their next round of pit stops, Villegas might be a couple seconds clear. So right now, that is why Fabrice Cornelis is pumping in the very quick laps, like his last 1 minute 52.7. That's much quicker than the 1 minute 54s he was doing while he was trying to save fuel. So he's pushing really hard right now, presumably to try and pull that gap out to about 20 seconds, which is how much longer his last stop is going to be.
Well, actually, Wayne might have been thinking of tyres with that splash and dash at the end of the race. He might have been thinking that he will have the tyre advantage in that last 20 minutes. But as we were saying before, Fabrice has the tyre advantage in the whole strategy because he does 2 shorter stops, splits this last hour and a half. He'll have basically fresher tyres than anyone else during this whole entire stint.
That's exactly it.
Plenty happening for strategy through all of the classes. We're talking a lot about those Kias, but the Mustangs, we also got to wonder who has enough fuel to not need a splash in the final 10-15 minutes. So as we get deeper into the race, that's something we'll also keep an eye on. And then some of the Mazdas owe us a pit stop quite soon as well. In fact, a lot of them are on the lane right now, like Joe Wells at Loic Gillardo and Jake Johannesson.
So our whole field is nearly purged at the moment here, and that will lead to us finally understanding exactly how this field has shaken out. But with those last stops still hanging over the Kias, and exactly how much fuel is going to be put in there. So be interested to see what gap Jason Cooper has after these pit stops, once all those pit stops have been run there. But yeah, honestly, it's hard to say right now between Fabrice, Cornelis, Carlos Villegas, Kip Stevens and Wayne Burke, who is really in the best position to win this race. Like, I'm stumped, to be honest with you.
That's part of the beauty of it.
Exactly. I think I'd have to say at the moment, Wayne's chances much more slimmer than any of those other 4 because he's 48 seconds back from Fabrice. His lap times, I'm guessing, would be around the 53 mark, whereas Fabrice's last lap. So Wayne isn't at a lap yet, a clean lap yet, but Fabrice's last time was a 52.9. So I think Wayne's chances of getting a win here are severely dampened at the moment. So they're getting the last bit of Mazdas in as well to the pit. So I think once they're out, we'll get a full field rundown as they go at the moment because nearly everyone's done their stops bar the Keys for their last one.
That's it. I think the Kias are going to be the most interesting field to watch here, as the likes of Jim Shedlick, Casey Kerwin are pretty far apart. Pasquale Iannucci is still hanging on the back of Casey Kerwin there, but actually, I've got to remember, that we may well still have a stop coming for these Mustangs. Stopping just before the halfway mark means that they may not be able to make it to the end, so they may still have a splash and dash, and depending on who stopped latest, that could determine the outcome of this race. So Jim Shedlick does have about 9 or 10 seconds back to the likes of Kerwin and Iannucci at the moment, so he's got a nice little lead there, which, if he can keep it clean, may well solidify his position in first. But this is motor racing, and we're never quite sure what can happen.
And I'm looking at the lap times there. So Shedlick's last lap, a 2-minute 1.4, basically matches his best lap. He's on his best pace of the race, but Kerwin and Iannucci behind, they're doing 2-minute 2s together. They might be both trying to save that fuel to make it to the end with no more pit stops. Shedlick doesn't have the advantage of a drafting buddy. It'll be tough to see what happens there, and I think it's just about rundown time.
Sorry guys, I'm just going to point out quickly, I just had a look at Kip Stevens' pit stop time. He was stopped for 51 seconds.
It's a very short splash for a Kia.
Yeah. Well, he was 14 seconds faster than Fabrice Cornelis, and we thought that was a quick stop for a Kia. So he's trying something here, but it's put him only a couple seconds off the like of Carlos Villegas, and his times are actually a bit better than the likes of Villegas there. Yes, his times are 0.6 faster than Villegas, and Wayne Burke right now is doing times faster than the top 3. So this is on for young and old, guys. I don't think this is all out, and I wouldn't count Wayne Burke out. He has got some great pace, and that little splash and dash at the end might be the key to his victory. Hard to say, and if he can take tyres or not, but with 48 minutes to go, nearly 48 and a half minutes to go, I think that top 4, it's anyone's game.
I think on your fuel strategy, Kip Stevens just a tiny bit out of it, but he is setting some very good lap times right now, and he will close up to Villegas and get a bit of a draft to save some fuel there.
Yeah, so right now Villegas just lost a bit of time on that last lap to Cornelis. So Cornelis pushing that Kia, that little Kia, as fast as it will go to try and make up that gap, so that when those last pit stops come around, he comes out with that number one position for this last little sprint to the end of the race, which I hope is going to be quite entertaining. If all of these pit stops work out and everyone, we have that top 4 battle close again, it's just going to be like the start of the race all over again. So looking at the Mustang field as well, we'll have a quick look at, excuse me, we've lost Pasquale Iannucci off the back of Casey Kerwin. So something's gone on there, because Iannucci was right up on the back of him, and
He's
now
had to take a second pit stop.
Ah, okay, so he's gone in and taken that second pit stop, which should get him to the end.
It doesn't look at this stage like many of the Mustangs are going to be able to one-stop this race. If anyone as far down as 6th or 7th place can do it, they will most likely be the race winner in that class. So that's another class where someone could surprise us on strategy. I don't know where to look right now, guys.
Yeah, it's doing my head in.
It really is. Like, the Mazdas have already done their stops. They've already done so. I think we all thought that the Mustangs were done as well, but they're not. They've still got, at least if you are not really lucky, one more stop. If you are lucky, none at all. But
yes, Karen Constantis goes on to the pit lane as well.
Just keeping an eye on all the times here, it's actually really difficult to judge who is our fastest car on track at the moment, because some of these guys are banging out 52s and some are doing 54s, but we've got to remember this is a multi-class race. Traffic is a factor and slowing some of these guys down. So Fabrice did a 54.0 last lap while Villegas did a 53.2, but next lap they could swap around. So it's the beauty of multi-class racing, and I guess for these guys it's the curse that comes with it. But they're racing beautifully at the moment. That gap it's not really going up or down, it's just staying stationary as they swap fast laps back and forth as they get hit with traffic.
And there's a lot more battles on track right now in the Kias. So Kip Stevens is using that draft of Carlos Villegas, but Wade Hayes and Sam Adams for 5th place are a battle, and behind them another group, Rock Garcia, Lance Nasir and Brandon Hawkin. And Reese Gardner, through the pit stops, has just managed to jump Julian Ignacio Longo, but he's right behind him as well. So lots of weird strategies still to play out, but on track, they've all clumped together.
Yeah, that's it, and we'll have a look. Just having a look at the Mustang field now, seeing if we've got anything going on there, but it looks like that whole field is pretty well spaced out at the moment. Everyone is in this happy little medium of just lapping until we get to those last pit stops, or in the case of the Mazdas, until we get to the end of the race. The smallest gap we have on track is about 2 seconds at the moment. So the draft effect isn't really there for those guys. It may be the tiniest little fleck of it, but yeah, right now Jason Cooper has what is about a 22 or 23 second lead back to Luis Gonzago Filho. So he is racing very cleanly and having an absolute mega race once that draft was broken, which just shows the power of that slipstream and how helpless you are without it in some cases. But if you've got the whole pack drafting, but in this case, just Jason Cooper has just shown his prowess in this car. So we'll have a look through the Kia field, because I think that this is where our main fight is going to be. So I'm just having a look at Brandon Hawkin at the moment, actually, because he's right up behind the likes of Lance Nasir and Rock Garcia, excuse me. So these guys are having a nice little battle at the moment as Brandon tries to fight back after that mistake earlier in the race. And I honestly thought that he would be able to come back a little bit more through the pack, and he just hasn't been able to. And now I think it's going to be a case of it being too late for him, unfortunately, to really make up that time, because those guys up the front have some awesome pace at the moment.
I think Brandon Hawkins' pace has been good, but his strategy has fallen a little bit flat. He hasn't accounted for the fact that the car is refueled one thimble at a time. That the pit stops are nearly 2 minutes long. A fuel saving of 3 or 4% saves you 10 seconds through the pit stop, and that's an amount that you just struggle to make up with on-track pace. So that's why he was part of the lead pack, led several laps in the first stint, but now finds himself in ninth, behind Lance Nasir and Rock Garcia, who both also took full load of fuel at the last stop. So I think this battle for seventh really is the battle that he is truly involved with right now.
That's it, but at least he's there and he's battling hard for it too. So he's kept his car fairly clean as well throughout this race. So that means that his draft the slipstream is getting in the downforce. The aerodynamic effect, I should say, isn't actually affected all that much. So he should be able to reel in some of these guys ahead that do have the damage on their car, and they're trying to deal with a Mazda here who's doing their best to stay out of the way. But I mean, you've still got a race, don't you? So yeah, that Mazda's doing their best, but these Kias are big and mean and trying to shove their way through.
Yeah, indeed. As we've seen and mentioned, as they get deeper into a stint, the tyres really do go off for the Kias. And that makes lapping through the infield and on the brakes into the bus stop and the first turn really difficult for them. The class dynamics are rather interesting in that way. And I've been looking at how deep into the first stint the Mustangs went. And I think the only two cars with any chance in that field of making it to the end without having to stop again is Blake Neck and Jay Osborne, who went a lap longer than our leaders Shedlick and Kerwin. And if they are being very, very careful right now, they could just potentially make it. But they're the only guys, I think, with the ability to be able to do that.
Well, they're lapping about a second slower. Oh, never mind, Blake Neck has just proved me wrong. He just went and did a lap that was within about a tenth or two of our leader. So I'm just going to put a sock in my mouth and stuff it there because he proved me wrong. I thought they might have been trying to fuel save, but it looks like they're pushing hard at the moment. So interesting to see how their fuel numbers go. But those Mustangs, they are pretty fuel thirsty as well. I mean, with the big engine in there, but the key is definitely drinking the most. And like you said, I liked your analogy there for getting the fuel in there. I'm just imagining a gentleman there tipping it in and trying to get all the fuel in the Kias.
And one of the interesting things you do notice through the pit lane sequence is it doesn't keep filling. There's a simulated fuel jugs. They slowly fill a couple of gallons. There's a pause while the fueler grabs another jug off the wall, and then it starts filling again. It's not like a fuel hose where it plugs in and then there's a constant fill rate. It is possible to decide through your fuel strategy, okay, I only want 2 or 3 jugs of fuel, and if you cancel your fuel in once one jug is done, there's a little bit of a saving compared to then taking another half a jug where there's a 3-second pause while the fueler grabs the other one. It's very, very interesting how those Kias are fueled.
There you go, and that definitely shows it's a simulation, doesn't it? Now, just going to flick to Kip Stevens and Carlos Villegas because they are actually battling out on circuit now, and Kip Stevens is about to get by Villegas. So he's got some good pace at the moment and has made that pass. So Villegas is now going to be about 15 seconds behind Fabrice Cornelis, I think, which is getting into dangerous territory for him for not being there. And Kip Stevens has gone flying off the circuit at turn 1. So he has, he might be done for the race. I don't know. He's trying to pull back onto the circuit here. This is interesting. Just after he's made that pass on Villegas too. So I'm not really sure what's going on there.
He's absolutely gone straight on, parked it, and he's not moving right now. He's gone for the toe. So I have no clue what on earth happened to Kip Stevens then, short of maybe he ran out of fuel and forgot to pit.
That may be it. He did have quite a short fuel stop, so that might be it, but he was still carrying a lot of speed. Like, it didn't look like his car was suffering from the fuel, there being no fuel in it. So
a quick look, I've gone on board with a little replay, and the engine revs in the dash did disappear.
Interesting. Okay, so maybe he was running it real lean and forgot to pit. Well, that's a shame for him because he had good pace there. I'm not 100% sure where he would have ended up, but it slowed up Carlos Villegas, so Fabrice might be thanking him for that. But now I guess we're down to a battle between the three guys who we've been watching pretty much this whole race, Cornelis, Villegas and Burke.
Yeah, so through the last pit stop phase, it was 1 minute and 5 seconds of fuel for Cornelis, 1 minute and 26 seconds of fuel for Villegas, a 21-second difference to the advantage of Villegas. So if Cornelis can use the same amount of fuel but pull out a gap of 21 seconds, then he could grab the race win. Villegas, to keep the pressure on Cornelis, just needs to stay where he is right now, 15 seconds behind. And Cornelis, through that pit difference, will not be able to hold on to the lead. So they're not together on track, but they're absolutely battling, Cornelis and Villegas right now, as I see another Mustang come out of the pits. That would have been Craig Edwards. So another Mustang decides they need a splash and a second stop.
Yeah, so I'm waiting to see which of these Kias is going to pit first. Wayne Burke, we know, has got a good amount of fuel in there. Cornelis and Villegas. Cornelis has the least amount of fuel on board. Villegas is not far behind, and Burke has about 30 seconds more fuel on board than the likes of Villegas. So the tyre strategy, the fuel strategy, all of it is going to come to a head, I'm guessing, in about the next 10 minutes. We'll start to see who does what and exactly how this race is going to look for this last 25 minutes. As I can't believe we're nearly 2 hours into this race. It has been flying by. These guys have been keeping us entertained. Can't believe we're still talking.
Yep, so 36 minutes to go means we are within the window of the Kias being able to pit and get to the end. Any of them could take their final stop now.
That's it, and it's a lot. I think that the point you made about tyres earlier on is actually a really good point. That depending on who pits first and who pits after, one guy will have the tyre advantage first, and one guy will have it second. And depending on the pace they can show, it may end up being the race-winning decision. But you're not going to know until they come into the pits, because, like you said, these Kia tyres, they do drop off a lot. So if you can have fresher tyres towards the end of the race, you might be able to make a last-ditch attempt at chasing down the leader. But if you put them on earlier, you can create a gap to the guy behind or try and catch that leader earlier on. So I don't know what I'd do personally. I'm not smart enough for that. That's why I'm up here in the box talking for 2 hours. But these guys, I bet you they know exactly what they're doing and they've got a plan.
4-car battle in the Kias right now. 5th place. Wade Hayes has been closed down by Brandon Hawken, who's dragging Rock Garcia and Lance Messier along with him. Wade Hayes' fuel strategy means he's net behind Brandon Hawken. So if Brandon Hawken doesn't get past soon, he's going to be held up by a car that's not on the same strategy. So they go too wide down the front stretch. They come towards the stripe, and Brandon Hawken is now a full car clear. And I think that's the pass done for him. Rock Garcia and Lance Nasir behind on the same strategy also need to get through. Rock Garcia tries to undercut to the inside, and there's a little bit of a tap, isn't there, Corey?
Yeah, little bit of a tap. Yeah, we're getting into that last half an hour, so I think little taps are needed. But Mazdafield has actually gotten even more spicy because Gene Fiddles has been dropped from the session. So a Mazda star basically has been dropped from the session. He could have won the race, but anyway, back to this Kia battle. So Wade has got one more car has to pass him, and then he's all by himself again.
Yeah, Rock Garcia managed to get through, dived it to the inside a bit deeper on the brakes. Does he have newer tyres? I consult my guide. No, they all pitted on the same lap. So same age tyres for all of these Kias. Just that Wade Hayes took less fuel, undercut a little bit. Now these guys are making their way back through. Just Lance Nasir to make his way through, get onto the bank and get into the slipstream behind Wade Hayes. Will not be close enough through the bus stop this time, I wouldn't think. It would seem inevitable though.
That's it, yeah. He's been pushing hard, and Wade Hayes doesn't seem to quite have the pace there to be able to keep up. Whether that's tyres going or the car's not quite acting the way you'd want to. Obviously, the track does change in this session. We have actually dropped to about 5 degrees track temperature from the start of the race. So it's getting a bit cooler. The cars react differently. So just looking up ahead, though, to Brandon Hawkins here. He's actually under attack at the moment by Rock Garcia. And these guys are going to go... Oh, I thought they were going to go side by side there. Rock is back and forth on the back of Brandon's car, but nothing's going to happen there just yet. Garcia taking that high line, maybe to try and undercut him through to turn 1. Not going to happen quite yet, but they are looking ahead here. Catching, by the looks of it, Mr. Sam Adams there as well. So Brandon Hawkins, what was looking like a disaster really for him, is fighting hard, coming back through the pack now, hunting down 4th with Garcia and Nasir right behind him.
Yep, Sam Adams pitted on the same lap, took the same amount of fuel as Hawkins, Garcia and Nasir. So that's absolutely a legitimate battle for position, that these three as a pack are closing up on Sam Adams, just a second and a half behind. You can probably see him in some of the shots.
That's it, yeah. So, this is getting intense now. We have about half an hour left to go. So, this...
And Cornelis is on the lane, our leader, onto the pit lane for his last stop. Fabrice Cornelis will try and get a tyre undercut on Carlos Villegas and Wayne Burke. And now he's going to take the fuel. He's missed his box and he has to engage reverse gear. Those old tyres, the car not slowing up how it used to. And that could be absolutely critical for Cornelis, because he only had a buffer of about 5 seconds over Villegas, fuel adjusted. That could be a very defining moment right there.
That's it. So he, it was a mistake that didn't need to be made. We were saying earlier on that pit stops will be the defining moments of this race, and that could have just definitively ruined that gap there. So we'll wait and see. We've still got Carlos Villegas and Wayne Burke yet to pit, and obviously the fuel fill is quite long in these cars. So it'll be interesting to see, watching where Villegas is now. He's just going through the infield at the moment. And trying to fight through a little bit of traffic here at the moment, with the likes of Kevin Chalk in front of him here, and also a couple of Mustangs up the road. So I wonder if he'll come in to try and make that tyre advantage lesser, or whether he'll just keep going, running his own race. That's going to be the interesting thing here. Will he play the basically run his own race and not sort of be intimidated by the likes of Cornelis and his strategy?
Now, Villegas, is a little update, is 30 seconds clear of Wayne Burke, with 20 seconds less fuel on board. So that long stint cost Wayne Burke a little bit, but he's by no means out of this. He's going to have quite a short final stop. He might come out not far behind Cornelis, still stationary on the lane. Having a look at this, 1 minute 36 seconds stationary for Cornelis, plus that little bit of time he lost having to find reverse gear on the lane.
And Villegas is in.
Yep. It's all starting to shake out, and we'll see where they stand. As Cornelis comes out of the pit lane at the same time as Jim Shedlick, who was one of our Mustang leaders. So that Mustang taking his second stop as well.
That's it. So now, this is going to be the interesting thing here. And Wayne Burke is staying out another lap. So do remember, he took quite a bit more fuel on board when he pitted last time. So he does have quite a bit of fuel to go until at the end of his stint. And also, well, actually, he's only been going for about a half an hour. So he's still got probably another 10 or 15 minutes left in that tank. And that means we need to slice and dash, but does he pit earlier, get fuel and get tyres at the same time, or does he pit later and just rely on his old tyres to keep him going in those last 10 minutes? That's something to ponder, and I'm not sure which way he'll go, to be honest. New tyres could be worth losing a second or two in the pit lane. Mind you, we have said the fuel flow on the Kias is rather slow.
Yeah, indeed. I'm just chasing up something with Jim Shedlick right now, because I said, and he was our Mustang leader, that he took a second pit stop, but it's showing on my timing screen as only 0.1 seconds stationary. He hasn't picked up a stop and hold penalty, has he? Nope, looking at the replay, he did come into the pit lane, take tyres and fuel. So Just a problem on my timing screen, but that could have been drama for the leader. And one thing to point out is he's taken that splash of fuel to get him to the end, and he's still come out on the track ahead of Blake Neck in third, who is one of the few cars I think that might have a chance of making it to the end without needing a splash.
Sorry, I'm going to have to cut in here. Fabrice Cornelis and Carlos Villegas coming out together on circuit here. Villegas is about a half a second up the road here, so this is on now, guys. This is to the end, half an hour left, and they have come out together. So whatever way this strategy has worked, Villegas had a 1 minute 26 pit stop there, but now we've got Cornelis and Villegas together on circuit. The battle for the lead is on, and don't forget Wayne Burke. If these guys battle it out, Wayne Burke could well still be in with a shot here. So don't count him out, and he currently leads our field. But guys, we said this was going to heat up, and now here it is right in front of us. Cornelis, the strategy didn't quite work out as nicely as what he had hoped, but now he's in prime time position to sit in behind Villegas and just bide his time until it's right.
It was a 20-second fuel difference last time around, and with Cornelis taking 20 seconds less fuel than Villegas, but now this time around it was only a 10-second difference between their pit stops. So somewhere along, Fabrice Cornelis, he tries to stick the nose down the inside of the bus stop as well. He wants to get by. Somewhere along, it looks like Cornelis has saved 10 seconds of fuel, unless Villegas has overfueled his car at that stop. So that's why they've come out absolutely nose to tail, even with that little mistake finding his pit box for Fabrice Cornelis. It's going to go too wide to the outside. Villegas is trying to defend this position on track right now.
Yeah, well, these guys, I think they're going to be going neck and neck as Cornelis backs out of it nice and early, but does the under over there and gets the car turned in nicely. So these two are battling hard. Villegas may need to relent this one here. No, he's going to keep it in there. Oh, they've nearly made contact. Wow, that was close. Cornelis came across on Villegas there. Little bit of contact. So, these guys, there is going to be no love lost in these last 26 minutes coming towards the end of this race. Fantastic. That's exactly it, David. This is going to be mega, I reckon. And Wayne Burke at the front of the field is setting some fairly good times as well. So he's still, I think he's still in with a chance at this. And these guys battling and going through traffic is going to slow them down. So I know I keep saying it, but I just feel like come towards the end of this race, we could see Wayne Burke in a position to really have a go at this.
Especially if he puts on a new set of tyres and gets a little bit of a run later on. It's all possible. He could spring a surprise on us. I love this battle between Villegas and Cornelis. They're trying to outbrake each other into the first corner, into the international horseshoe, and now a run from Cornelis towards the bus stop. Villegas holds the inside. They go high on a Mustang. Cornelis has to brake earlier on the outside. Villegas slowed him down a lot because the Mustang came back at them as well. So these two are, without doubt, playing games with each other for what they assume will be the lead of this race.
Well, don't forget, the more battling they do, it's helping out Wayne Burke a lot, because he's got what is a massive, about a minute, maybe a minute, 10 minute, 15 lead to Fabrice and Villegas. So the more battling they both do, the more they're slowing each other up.
Deep on the brakes into the first corner again. Cornelis tries to sneak the nose down the inside. Can't do it this time. Will stay very close. They come through the little left-right. Cornelis looks for the inside of the international horseshoe. Villegas covers it off. A little deep on the brakes. Cornelis gets the nose in and nearly turns him. Gets on the brakes himself. Lets Villegas hold that position. But contact between our de facto leaders. No holds barred.
Well, that's it. And as I said earlier, no love lost, because these two, this has been a long race, and we're now 2 hours into this, and they're on the final stretch. They can smell the victory. They can see that virtual trophy they're going to hold in their hand, and they'll be able to whack that on their iRacing profile and go, I won top split of Raw before the 24. Gives you a good feeling coming into the 24 hours of Daytona as well. that you can win this race and know this track well. So I can understand the wanting to win, and that I really hope Cornelis catches back up a bit here, because that this battle is just going to keep going and going and going. And I think he's only about a second behind, so he might get a little bit of the benefit of the draft here and might be able to get right back up on the back of Villegas.
Yeah, exactly. It might be the Raw, but it's one of the most prestigious races for this Kia Optima. There's not many other series where you can win a race in these and carry that pride. So you win this, and people know that you're one of the best drivers in the Kia Optima.
That's it. And this Kia isn't exactly a car that's easy to drive either. There's a good bit to understand about it. And being front-wheel drive, as was mentioned earlier by you guys, it's a very hard car to drive. And Cornelis has come right back up on Villegas here. So although they made that contact, this battle is back on nearly just under a lap later as Cornelis tries to go around the outside, couldn't quite get it done. Villegas will hold that position just for now, and they're going to come through 2 and 3 here. Got a banged up Mazda up ahead of them here, and Cornelis dives to the inside there and does the same thing as the last lap. Come on, guys. So he'll let Villegas have that position again. I'm not sure what he's playing at here. He came from so far back there.
Really sponsored by Kia Smash Repairs, because he does not want that right rear corner of Villegas's car to be at all in shape. 2 laps in a row, same corner, gives it a little tap. And now they're going to have to negotiate their way past Travis Schwenke. That almost holds up Villegas a little bit. Cornelis gets a better run out of the corner. Maybe try and set up the draft out of turn 6 along the banking and towards the bus stop. He's right underneath the rear wing of Villegas this time again.
Well, I'm going to say this now, Brock, with that contact, I think, so Burke's on pit lane, but that contact between Fabrice and Villegas, I think, wasn't necessary. Here we go, he finally gets that line on the inside of the bus stop. Villegas is going to let him go, so, or maybe not. There we go, so change the position
Slowing
there.
each other up to the benefit of Burke and Hawken, who's also on the pit lane. Wayne Burke might come out not more than 10 seconds behind these guys, because they've lost 2 seconds on each of the last 2 laps, with Cornelis giving that bump to Villegas. Keep an eye on...
Oh, here we go. Burke's out. Burke's out. Burke is now out of pit lane, so he's got the lead of the race by a massive margin, I would say. Where is Fabrice?
Fabrice and Villegas, I believe, are just coming into turn 1 now. So
and Wayne's now out, so that... Oh, I had a feeling that Wayne had a big enough gap to pit and get to the end with the lead. So there you go. They've both slowed each other up for no point whatsoever, because Wayne is out with what is, I'm guessing, a 10-second lead. So,
ladies and gentlemen, bookmark the point in this video, because you just got given a strategy masterclass by Mr. Wayne Burke. He played that beautifully.
And we all thought Fabrice had the best strategy out there, and Wayne has gone, yeah, look, guys, you're all wrong. So he's pulled a massive gap on Fabrice and Villegas. But what about Hawken?
That's it, and that's the thing as well. We did say we're okay to be made to look silly if it's for a good reason. I think this is a good reason. He's made us look a bit silly, but he's done a very good job of it. So Brandon looks to have come out in 6th position based off what my timing is telling me right now. However, Julian Ignacio Longo hasn't actually pitted yet, so he will need to pit in, and I think Brandon will take up effective 5th position on the circuit.
Villegas has had some contact with the wall in the West Horseshoe, and that's why he's dropped back 5 or 6 seconds from Fabrice Cornelis, who is now 5 seconds clear of Carlos Villegas, who's had some drummers.
Oh, that's a shame. I was looking forward to a really good battle to the end between those guys. So
no, I think Villegas was really, so that's why that contact for Fabrice twice. It was not really. Fabrice didn't want it, I think, as well, because he was really slow to the corner. He was really holding up Fabrice more than a battle. So I think Villegas really was going to lose more on Fabrice than what he did then. So, but at the moment, Burke, Cornelis and Villegas are at the moment on track would be top 3. Well, not on, well on track with strategy would be top 3, but at the moment are second, third, and fourth on timing.
That's it. So we'll just have now that we've had all these main pit stops out of the way, our top three, as you just said, Corey, are Wayne Burke, Fabrice Cornelis, Carlos Villegas, and then Rock Garcia and Brandon Hawken come out the top 5 in the Kia. Then you've got Casey Kerwin leading Mustang with Jim Shedling, Pasquale Iannucci, Blake Neck and Craig Edwards, top 5 in that Mustang class. And then Jason Cooper still leading that Mazda class out front there. Elmar Ellicott, excuse the pronunciation there, Vincent Laherbia, Luis Gonzago Filho, and Joe Wells, the top 5 in Mazda.
Yeah, just to update you there, Casey Kerwin's just taken his second pit stop, come out behind Jim Shedlick. So the order there is Shedlick, Kerwin, Iannucci, Neck, and Edwards, with Neck just coming onto the pit lane right now for his second stop. So 17 minutes to go, and he doesn't think he can make it to the end unless this is for that damage on the front of the car, which is quite significant. No, but he's going. He's just got a less pretty Mustang. Well, less pretty than how it rolled off the factory.
Yeah, that's it.
It's up to debate whether you thought it was pretty when it rolled off the factory. What are we looking at for the Mazdas right now? A great battle for second place. So Erlicotti leads from Vincent Elherbia, who leads from Luis Gonzago Filho, and all of these guys taking their stops fueled to the end. And I just saw Elmar Erlicotta holding the inside a little bit to the entrance of the International Horseshoe, just trying to defend that position from Herbia, who's going to try and take it too wide through the kink. These cars absolutely can do flat out through there, but that will give him the inside to the West Horseshoe if he can be brave enough on the brakes, which he can. And he will door bang and grab second place away from Herbia, who will get, Erlicott, who will get a better run off that corner. And once again, they'll be side by side into the turn that leads them onto the oval. 15 minutes to go and more contact. Carry on, but boy, oh boy, take a look at that.
Yeah, it's on for young and old. These guys are really fighting it out. So Laherbia and Filho will still be in this, but unfortunately, Ellicotta is a ways behind here. Maybe you can use that Mustang in front of him to heave him forward a little bit as the Kia goes and wraps them up around the outside there. So, yeah, a bit of a shame there, but we've still got a nice little battle pack here as Cornelis is trying to fight his way through. But right now, he's got 13 seconds to Wayne Burke from Fabrice Cornelis. And
Burke, our fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 51.8, using those new tyres to the best use we've seen all race. That is blisteringly quick compared to the 1 minute 54s he was doing earlier in the race.
That's immense, isn't it? And that's what I meant earlier on, was to see the true pace of these guys, and he's showing it right there. That is no holds bar pushing lap, because he can see this victory. It's 16 and a half minutes, roughly speaking, until we're at the end here. So this is so close now. And yeah, I'm just looking at the guys in second and third now in the Mazda. They're bump drafting down the front stretch there, all the way into turn 1. So number 24, Luis Gonzago Filho, isn't quite ready to take that second position yet.
If he's thinking of trying to get time to get Cooper, well, they're entering the horseshoe now, whereas Cooper is exiting onto the oval. So that is a massive gap to get in the next, what is 11, 12 minutes of this race.
Yeah, that's it. And I think Cooper has a 34-second gap back to Vincent Laherbia. So that's immense. Like, Cooper has just been chipping away at it since that draft lock broke. He has had the number on this Mazda field, so he's doing really well. But in the meantime, we still have Laherbia and Filho fighting it out here on circuit, pushing really, really hard at the moment to try and get these positions sorted out. And it's getting ever darker, and these shadows are growing ever longer at this circuit, as now we're at about 5:30 in game. So it's really interesting for these drivers. they have to deal with those shadows and deal with different braking markers and that sort of thing. So particularly if you look at Phil Ho's car, he's actually got damage on the front too. So he's probably lucky he's got that draft from Leherbia in front, because otherwise he would probably be helpless by himself.
Also, that setting sun means cooling track temperatures, and I'm sure helps Wayne Burke to that lap time. A cool track, new set of tyres, relatively light fuel load, all of those things combining for that blistering lap. He's now dropped back to the 1 minute 53s we would have expected, but I think just using the fresh tyres for 1 or 2 laps to show us what he is capable of. Speaking of those shadows, Julian Ignacio Longo has come out of the pit stop, shadowing Reese Gardner for 8th place.
Yes, they come into the bus stop now. I feel like these guys have been together just a little bit today, so they've been fighting it out, and Reese has done well. I think he's had a bit of contact and a bit of damage that's been fixed, so he's sort of been keeping on pumping through some of the pain. And now, yeah, a nice little battle to keep him going for the last 13 minutes of this race, as I'm sure he's really been begging for. So now Ignacio Longo comes up on the back here, and he's going to try and make that move in that beautiful setting sun coming onto the main straight here, onto the front stretch, excuse me. And they'll go side by side across the finish line here. Reese still just his nose in front at the moment. He'll be able to take it for now. Ignacio's going to try and throw it down the inside. Won't be able to make it work. Reese does well to block that inside line and keep it there for now. They're going to go side by side through turn 2. No, they're not. Very smart by Longo there not to try shove it up. That's really a one-line corner for the most part. Now just have to wait through this middle part of the field. There's not a heap of overtaking opportunities, unfortunately, because if you throw it down, you've got to be certain you're going to make it work. So Longo will have to stick in there and hope he can make it work on the oval section again.
Yeah, and that battle for second with the Mazdas, though, Elmer Erlacotta, who I assume would be rather displeased with how Luis Gonzaga Filho got through. Well, Elmer Erlacotta has managed to close that gap back up, get within 1 second, get some of that draft back, and maybe in the last 10 minutes, show those other 2 guys what he can do. And give them a piece of his mind, potentially, as well.
That's it, yeah. So we'll have a look, just having a look through the rest of the field here, seeing if we've got any big battles going on. But I think right now, our best battle to look at is Mr. Gardner and Mr. Longo out on track. So we'll keep an eye on these guys here, because it's basically, it's the same thing we saw last lap. These guys line astern coming through the bus stop, and now Longo is going to have to try use that draft to get onto the back of Reese Gardner and try get around him again. So we'll see if Reese takes that inside line, he might be able to block an assault and then keep him behind him for another lap. And my timing's telling me we've only actually got about 7 laps left here once Reese crosses the finish line. So 7 laps for these guys, and he's pushing hard to make it work.
Here comes Longo. Reese will stay down on the yellow line, hold the inside into turn 1. I think Julian Ignacio Longo recognises that. He's not going to try and outbrake him around the outside. He'll try and bring it back to a late apex, get on the throttle early, and look to what he can maybe do into the first horseshoe. So try for the inside. Reese stayed out there just a little bit to say, I'm in a position to be able to cover the inside if I need to. He does run a little wide of the apex, but gets a good exit and will hold on for just the moment.
Yeah, so Reese he's a hard fighting racer and a brilliant commentator as well, as I might add. But right now he's showing us exactly what he's made of as a racer, and keeping Longo at bay, putting the car in all the right positions and making sure that he's not defending too hard, but he's defending just enough to show Longo, like you said, he's here and he wants this position. So this 8th place is actually where he started, so I'm sure he would like to finish there and say, you know, I didn't slip back any further.
Yeah, and here they are going high on the banking to pass that 2nd place Mazda battle, Erlacotta, Filho and Leherbia, and now Ignacio Longo will look to the inside of the bus stop on Reese Gardner. Can he outbrake him? I think if Reese is clever, he just eases out of the throttle, picks his own braking marker, will take the line he prefers through the bus stop. But I think that position has swung in the favour of Julian Ignacio Longo, at least for the moment.
Oh, sorry, we've just had an incident here between 2nd and 3rd in the Mazda class. Vincent Leherbia has hit the back of Gonzago Filho, sent Phil Ho into the wall at the bus stop. And Laherbia, I think, has continued on there. But looks like he just missed his braking marker and absolutely drilled the back of Laherbia.
Wow, so as we have heard a replay of that one, and I guess you can make up your own mind, but that really did look like just right up behind the other car, become a bit unsighted, a bit disoriented, and missed his braking marker, has Luis Gonzago Filho, and that elevates Elmar Erlicotter into second place that he had, and then was maybe a little bit nerfed out of.
That's it. So it's I'm watching Laherbia here. He's struggling with that car, and he's actually on two wheels. Oh my goodness gracious me, this is iRacing physics working hard here. He just went up on two wheels all the way around turn one. So some sort of, he's doing some stunts now. But just also notice, all the lights have come on, so it's dark enough now that all cars on track will have their headlights on, and this is turning into a twilight race for us for these last 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, fantastic. Good looking stuff as well. That sun was getting lower and lower and lower, and now race control say, hey, headlights on, and all of these cars equipped with headlights. None of them equipped with headlight flashes, potentially, thankfully.
Sorry, Bobo.
That's why he's not here.
That's it. He didn't want to see it happen without these flashing headlights, I reckon.
Yeah, well, if he was here, we would only see him as of now flashing his headlights at the end of the race, which would, yeah.
Well, Wayne Burke, just to focus back on the racing, I feel like we're all getting a bit loopy now. Getting back to the racing here, Wayne Burke has done a 1:53.0, the fastest lap of any of the Kias, so he is still stretching that gap at the moment, just showing all the Kias what he's made of. And you know what? He hadn't led that many laps today. The laps he led had been in when other people have pitted in, but now he's leading when it matters in this last 20 minutes, so he's doing really well, just keeping that car nice and clean. I don't think we have much in the way of other battles throughout the field here, actually. I stand corrected.
Some of the Mustangs.
Yeah, we've got Dan Constantis and Craig Edwards battling it out on track here.
Yeah, and the gap between them, last I looked, was not much. Also, deeper down in the field, Adam Briggs and Jay Osborne have only just a little gap over Dave Hoffman and Blake Neck. So that's all plenty to play for, 4 laps to go. As Cara Constantis comes onto the banking a little bit wide, dropped down, and so he's passing a Mazda there. Craig Edwards will get a great amount of drafters. They're all 3 wide on the banking. Mazda's on the bottom, Mustang's in the middle, Kia's to the top. It's like a science experiment where something precipitates to the bottom and something rises to the top, and we've got 3 cars, and they can all live in harmony on the banking. It's through the infield and the corners that things get a little more stressful. Craig Edwards is in a great position to grab a draft, maybe make the move soon, or even on the final lap.
That's it. So it's still lots to play for here, and after such a long race, you really want to be able to walk away with the best result you can. So Craig Edwards is actually +8 at the moment. He's made up a lot of positions to get to where he is now. Daniel is up 11 positions. So these guys that are racing here, they've already had a brilliant race. And Craig Edwards is now around is on the inside of Daniel here, going down the inside of the horseshoe and trying to feed him out wide a bit there, and has done so. So Craig Edwards has taken that position and will now move up yet another spot, being +9 up in 4th place in class.
Gets a great run back though. He'll maybe get a look to the inside, will Craig Edwards, and he does it. Sorry, I might be a bit behind.
That's all right. We're going to jump quickly to the Kias, because we've got Sam Adams and Lance Nasser fairly close to the infield here. So I'm curious to see whether these guys end up battling when they come out of here. It's about a second between them. As they come through now, getting towards the oval section of this circuit, both with a little bit of damage on their cars, but I think most cars in the field now have that bit of damage, the battle scars, if you will, of the Raw before the 24. So now coming onto the oval section of this track, the fast sweeping corners of the oval, that is Daytona, is known for so well. Now we have the number 36 of Lance right in the slipstream of Sam Adams here, so they're going to go on the oval here. Bit of damage, actually quite a bit of damage to Lance Nassai's car. as they come through, getting ready for the run into the bus stop here.
Same age tyres, so it's all about the drivers right here in this battle, and Adams will just hold it through the bus stop this time, but Nasir as close as he's ever been.
Yeah, so this could be a really good run onto the main, through NASCAR turn 3 and 4 here and onto that main front stretch where he could get a run into turn 1. We've got two Mazdas up ahead, bump drafting up on the high line there, so they'll say see you later to them as they fly by. Well done to those Mazdas for sticking out of the way. And now these Kias, they're bump drafting too, so they've taken a note from those Mazdas. But looks like the number 36 is just going to roll out of it a bit and won't quite take that position just yet. Maybe biding his time until this last lap, excuse me, where he can really make that move work.
3 minutes to go, and Reese Gardner comes down onto the pit lane. Is that an issue for him, or has he got his fuel calculations wrong? Because with 2 or 3 laps to go, this is a very late pit stop from Southpaw Racer.
Yeah, it is actually. So he's in there. He hasn't exited the car just yet. That's odd. Maybe a miscalculation on fuel at some stage. Just needs an extra splash and dash. There you go. Splash and dash is out.
Yep, no tyres, 15 seconds of fuel. That's unfortunate for him. He was in that great battle for 8th place. That's dropped him down. Really quick recap, the lead of those Kia fields. Wayne Burke still has it, 16 seconds clear of Fabrice Cornelis, who's managed to hold his gap over Carlos Villegas. Top of your Mustang field, still Jim Shedlick, who is clear of Casey Irvin by 16 seconds, and then a further 6 seconds down the road to Pasquale Iannucci. Your lead of your Mazdas is...
Oh, we've got a car flipping, sorry. We had the number 37 Mazda flipping.
Was
Excuse
it down
me.
the... Yeah,
down
what
the
has happened?
back straight.
Yeah. Oh, he's gotten to the wall somehow. Replay's up on the screen. What has happened to him?
So that's Laherbia, who I believe had that incident earlier.
He's
already carrying some suspension damage, was Vincent Laherbia, and now he's done more flips than a dolphin at SeaWorld right there.
Wow, yeah, that was impressive. I mean, 10 out of 10 for style, but not going to help your race.
No, and he landed on his wheels, which is good, but he will have a very screwed up car. He's in the pits at the moment, so his race would be done right there.
That's a shame for him. Makes it within about a minute of the end. We've got a minute left in this race, and the race ends there for him, so that's really unfortunate. But we're going to have a look at Wayne Burke now, because he's coming through the bus stop, and we're coming around to the final lap of this 2.5-hour extravaganza that is
will
the
get the white flag this time he crosses the line, and that will be the start of the final lap of the this broadcast of the iRacing Raw before the 24.
That's it. So Wayne Burke has driven a great race. He has been a little bit under our radars up until the middle of the race when we sort of we saw his strategy and thought this could work for him. So he crosses the start-finish line now to begin that last lap. Now, we'll just have a quick look. I think most of the Kia field is fairly well sorted out. So Mr. Wayne Burke here is looking to take this win now, 15.7 seconds ahead of Fabrice Cornelis. And I don't know, guys, I didn't think he'd be able to pull this one off. I thought Fabrice and Carlos were going to be our battle to the end, but he's done a brilliant job.
Yeah, and the next car on the track ahead of Wayne Burke is the Mazda leader of Jason Cooper. So he'll just, I think, get past Jason Cooper to make him run 1 lap short.
And that'll probably be a blessing from the iRacing gods for Mr. Cooper on that one. After running a race this long, it'd probably be nice to have it made 1 lap shorter for you, particularly when you're leading the race. You just want it to be over. But yeah, Jason Cooper, our Mazda leader, comes onto the oval section now. Wayne Burke follows him through there, so Burke will most likely gather him up probably even before the bus stop. So we'll have eyes on Wayne Burke now as he comes through NASCAR turn 2, gathering up Jason Cooper here and coming down into the bus stop to just about complete this final lap of the Raw before the 24. It's been a great race, and Wayne Burke has shown his class by mastering that strategy and making sure that he didn't really give away anything, not to us, not to other drivers. And honestly, I can tell you that I believe anyway that Cornelis and Villegas would be surprised by the fact that Wayne jumped them in the pits like that.
A bit of a sleeper agent, and now he comes through the last banked corner of the lap towards the start-finish line. How many laps in the bag? 73. It's about to be 74 as Wayne Burke is your winner of the Raw before the 24 in the Kia class. Jason Cooper comes across the line now for an absolutely dominant win in the Mazdas, and Fabrice Cornelis crossing the line in a second as well. I think we'll look to your Mustang leader, Jim Shedlick, who is also just coming towards the start-finish line, and in a Mustang field where everyone had to two-stop, he is your race winner there.
What a race, guys. That was immense. So, looking through the rest of the field here, the Mazdas switching up. Actually, let's flip to Jay Osborne at the moment. Sam Adams and Lance Nasir having a two-wide battle. Coming through to the start-finish line. They're going to go side by side. They're bumping in a straight line at the moment.
Dooring each other. Here we go to the line. Who will it be? It'll be Lance. Lance just got him at the head by 0.006 of a second.
6 thousandths of a second. That's insane. Now, I was going to have a look at Jay Osborne, Adam Briggs, and Dave Hoffman, but it looks like they've sorted out their little battle pack there in the Mustangs as well. Might not quite be done.
Maybe not. Maybe not. They've still got a bus stop. But they've got NASCAR 3 and 4, and that will run to the finish line. So, if I was Hoffman, I'd be wanting to get a run out of the Mazda. They're stuck. Will he get off the line? Not really, but anyways, here we go. The draft is strong with these Mustangs. Osborne, Briggs, Hoffman. Who will it be? Hoffman tries to rattle up Briggs on around the outside, but it won't work because he needs to get a run on Osborne, and they're getting it all now.
So
NASCAR turn 4.
The draft from Osborne. Hoffman had a run, but he had to go high.
Hoffman
will try and box him with the bump draft. And they all finished in the order they came through the bus stop. But Dave Hoffman was so very, very close to being able to grab that position from Adam Briggs. And Jay Osborne, lucky to hold off those two charging cars to the line.
Wow, guys, that was an intense race the whole way through, and then right at the very end there, battling in the Kias and the Mustangs, coming to the line and finishing thousandths of a second from each other. I don't think we could have asked for a much better Raw before the 24. This race always delivers, and I got to say the dynamic weather as well just made it look so much better. I'm sure for these drivers made the experience so much more immersive for them. So that was an awesome race, and congratulations to the podium from our Kia class, which is Mr. Wayne Burke, Fabrice Cornelis in second, and then Carlos Villegas in third. Mustang podium is Jim Shedlick in 13th. You've got Jim Shedlick in first, he's 13th overall. Casey Kerwin in second, and Pasquale Iannucci in third, and our Mazda field to round out, Jason Cooper in first, Elmar Elacotta, even after that contact towards the end of the race in second, and Luis Gonzago Filho in third. Well, guys, what can we say? That race was really, really great, and that time has flown by.
Yeah, once again, a fantastic iRacing Raw before the 24. A great little 2.4 hour race gives us plenty of strategy in a pretty shortened, exciting little package. Lots to talk about through all of the fields the whole way through. But we're not quite done on the iRacing Esports Network with the Raw before the 24 because there's still the Race Spot broadcast to come up later on. And but that rounds out this one.
That's it. So in about 9 hours' time, we will have the Race Spot broadcast right here from the iRacing Esports Network of the Raw before the 24. So if you didn't get your fix now, come back in a few hours' time because they're going to do it all over again, and you might even see some of the same names in this race, and you can choose who you're going for. So yeah, look, it's been an awesome job by you guys commentating here and by the guys on the track. Always a pleasure in here with you guys. I guess from us here at SimSpeed TV, that's all for now. Hope all of you have a nice day, and we'll see you in the next one.